Good and fair evening, my friends. Welcome back to another beautiful day in the tavern where I'm having some technical difficulties. As you can see, I'm brighter than usual, not intellectually, but luminously. And that's because some of the things are not working at present, and they don't want to work. I get it. Some days I get up and I don't want to work, but I'm not a computer, so why we're having such issues, only Lord knows. But hello, my friends, welcome in. We are hot on the trail of actually, where were we last when we left off? So for anyone who is not aware, we are doing story time today. We are in Raymond E. Feist's A Darkness at Sethanon, and it's them goblins. It is them goblins. They are being righteously pains in the backside, pains in the posterior, if you will, aches in the anterior gluteus maximus. Old King Bear, hello. What's up, lovey? Possibly the interior as well. Could go either way. But welcome in, friends. Oh, Matty raided in. I need to give him a toot on the raid horn. Let's welcome Matty in. Hello, everyone who's joining us through the TikTok portal. Welcome in, friends. Grab a seat, settle in. Here we go. 3, 2, 1 for Matty. Welcome, 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 friends. It's so good to see you all. But let's see, we've got Whispers in the Forest. Whispers in the Forest. Are you fresh, or do you change your name? Because it looks like you've been here before, but I don't recognize the name. Any which way, welcome in. So very glad that you could join us. Well, then, welcome to the tavern. I am Castle. This is my tavern, and here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore, and every now and again, I read you all a story. Tonight, as I said, we are reading A Darkness at Sethanon by Raymond E. Feist. I'll let everyone know where we are before we start. But you have stumbled into a tavern at the end of the world where all stories eventually come to rest. And you found your way here because you sought a story. Tim, hello, how goes it? Esther, hello and good evening. I'm having a spectacular evening. A busy evening, mind you, but a spectacular evening. Let's see, we've got Frost, we've got Matty, we've got Molly Sue, and for anyone who's watching anywhere, we have multiple portals through which you can enter into the tavern. You can come in through the Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Kick, or TikTok portals, whatever is your fancy. Jessica, hello, welcome in. And if you need any help while my head is down, please do not hesitate to grab one of the barkeeps. Now, it should be mentioned that a large portion of these story times my head is down, and I am reading. We usually do about a page or two at a time, then I'll pop up, we'll have a little bit of a discussion about the story that's going on. So if I miss your message, and I cannot emphasize this enough, if I miss your message, do not hesitate to post it again. I do not have rules against spamming as long as you're not being annoying to anyone. And please, 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 do not harass anyone else while you're in here. That is the only rules that I have. This has become a little bit of an issue recently. I just want to make sure that it doesn't pop up. Jonas, hello, hello, welcome in. Quirt, hello, good to see you. Petra, hi, Master Castle, how are you and the lady doing? I hope things are going in the tavern. They're going quite well, as a matter of fact. We're very busy. We're very, very busy. Am I? Yeah, it won't let me fix the camera. The camera settings are all but lost. But let's see. Hello, Esther. Hello, Teresa. Hello, Old King Bear. Hello, Jonas. Hello, Frost. Hello, Karn. Hello, my friend. Jessica, Whispers of the Forest. Petra. Molly Sue. Did I see Mary Beth in here as well? Well, I'll say hello to Mary Beth in any case. We've got the bear. And I think I got everyone. Capitan. Yes. All right. We are quite well and ready. I hope that you've all had a spectacular weekend, that you're starting off your week right, and I hope that Storytime will help ease some of the mid-week woes that you're probably experiencing, having gone out, and for those of you who have been bringing friends and whatnot into the tavern, I appreciate you for it. Okay, so where were we? Well, we had just left off with Pug and Tomas, who were two of the main characters. Note to self, do not harass people that's doable. It's just a lot of people will try to get my attention when I'm down. Well, primarily new folk, but it's a consistent problem. And if I don't immediately answer, people get upset. Just repost your questions. It's not a big deal to repost questions. I don't get mad at people for spamming. But just don't yell at other people when you can't get my attention because I'm reading a book. I will attend to you as soon as my head is up. That's all. But welcome in, Jonas. I'm glad you could join us, my friend. Elsie and I will be listening in the background. Can't really stand spammers. I never harass anyone myself. But good evening, Esther. I'm so glad. I harass no one. I don't like spam. I do not like harassing of the tavern patrons, and I'm not a big fan of spammers either. Well, you can spam messages is what I mean. If I miss a message, feel free to repost it so that I can see it. Because again, sometimes the chat goes very, very fast. It's hard for me to catch it, especially when my head is down and I'm reading. So don't hesitate. Drew, long time no see, my friend. Hello, welcome in. Yeah, Destiny harasses me all the time, and so does the lady, but that's all right. The lady has prerogative, and so Destiny is usually justified in her harassment of me. Herring, hello. I don't harass anyone, but my jokes aren't great, which is a form of harassment that is acceptable. Terrible jokes are fine. Tyson, hello, my friend. Welcome in. Harassing will get a swift response. Yes, indeed. Alright. Reasonable. I try to be. I'm never been accused of being a reasonable man, but I certainly attempt to be. Well, I'm very glad that you're in, Esther. I hope Elsie is doing well. I hope Johnny's feeling alright. We are reading A Darkness at Sethanon, which is the fourth book in the Rift War saga by Feist. And when we last left off, Thomas and Pug, who were the original, two boys that we followed in the first book, are... Heselin, hello, welcome in. I don't recognize that name, first time chatter. Welcome in, so very glad that you could join us. Grab a seat, grab a mug, fill it with your preferred drink. You're just in time for stories to begin. Went to a big sale at the Lego store today. People were lined up for blocks. Something special coming out? Not that I would know. Fire attack, hello, my friend. Thank you for the lightning bolt. Tips to the tavern, keep it always appreciated. But when we last left off, Tomas and Pug had flown a dragon into a different realm to meet an oracle. The Oracle of All is who she was called. And were lined up for blocks. Oh, I missed it. Good one, Herring. People were lined up for blocks. That's hilarious. It's very good. I missed it. I actually just finished my Banhammer. It weighs 35 pounds and is 4x4 by 8.5 inches of steel with a 5-foot handle? Or a 5... It couldn't be 5-inch handle. It'd have to be a 5-foot. Definitely not trying to make Mjolnir over there. Also, my training is going well. I have my first job fair of 2 tomorrow. Spectacular Con. What a wonderful thing. Elsie and I really enjoy your reading, and Johnny has a dentist appointment tomorrow. Spectacular. Well, I hope that he is minimal suffering at his dentist. It's impossible to have no suffering at a dental appointment, but minimal suffering at the dental appointment. Good news, the doctor said that my pneumonia is gone, but the after cough is lingering. That will happen, but as long as you hydrate and take care of yourself, it should go away within a couple of weeks. I'm prone to walking pneumonia, so I know how irritating it can be, and I cough and sneeze very hard. So I will often dislocate my own ribs with coughing and sneezing. So make sure you take care of yourself, Petra. That's very important. Okay. Thomas and Pug flew a dragon into another realm. and they met with an oracle who's supposed to be able to see the future, and they basically freed her mind in exchange for taking all of her people off of the planet that was being destroyed that they currently lived on. And then we found our way back to Kryde, which is the kingdom that we were originally in the first book, where Martin, who is the eldest brother of the three brothers who are essentially the royal family of this world now, just found out that his youngest brother was assassinated. And that is Arutha, who is the main character of Silverthorn. So we have had quite an strange couple of chapters. Milo, hello. We hope Coda, Milo, and Boo are doing well. They are. Boo is probably with the lady. Yep, he's staring at me across the way. The Coda is probably laying by the door, as he usually does. And Milo is probably sleeping like he's not supposed to right now. They're all doing well. There's a possibility I could end up working on the West Coast. Well, that's...
He is sleeping.
Is
He's very out.
Here, bring him to me so that he can do a little bit of work. But he doesn't need to be sleeping right now. Bring him to me. He's mean to me when I let him sleep during the day. Because I haven't let him sleep during the day. Bring him to me, Everett. Bring him to me. He's gonna do some work and then I'll let him go. No, bring him to me. Bring him to me. He doesn't need to be sleeping. That's fine. He can be comfortable tonight when we're all sleeping.
He was such a good boy this morning.
Oh, here he is.
Here he is.
Grumpy, sleepy boy
EP boy.
who wants to be sleeping right now.
But he can.
But he can't, because if I let him sleep, then he'll keep us all awake. But this is Milo. Look out, you see how big he is? How massive he is. An absolute unit. Look at the size of those... Oop. Don't fall. Look at the size of those paws. Look how big they are. How big that... Look how big it is. He's an absolute unit. And he just wants to just fall asleep in my arms. He just wants so badly to be asleep.
Big fan, I guess.
He does not. He wants to just look. He's just like, let me sleep. Let me sleep. No, put him on his wheel. Don't let him sleep.
Exercise.
Exercise, no sleep.
Exercise.
Exercise, no sleep.
Just looking back.
Wait, what? Oh. What do you do for work? I do this for work. I tell stories for a living. He is growing quite a bit and he looks sleepy, but welcome in, Renato. Hello. I tell stories for work, Renato. That is what I do. Because if I don't keep him up, he runs around like a lunatic in the middle of the night. Back in the wheel, the internet is losing power. Yeah, we make Milo power the computer. The magic box is powered by Milo running. Milo must power exactly. I'm training for the QC bot. I like to say I'm going to become a tech priest. That's very funny. Con, it's very funny. Yeah, technically we don't get paid. We don't really make any money doing this particular thing, but I tell stories for a living is what I do. Love the pet sightings. Well, since Big Boy is up, he can come say hello too. It's not for you. I don't know what you're doing, so come here. Get up here. Up up. There he is. Come on. This is Koda. He has very little brain. He's very handsome, but he's got very little brain.
His brain is,
And this is the boy.
invisible.
For anybody who's never met the
Yes,
boy.
I'm the gremlin. I'm the background noise.
He's why the police get called on us. People think we have somebody being tortured. Hasn't happened yet.
Hello. I
Fur babies, beauty and blasphemy, hello. I am not a voice actor, Renato, but I am willing to lend my voice to stories wherever people ask for them. I've done voice acting in the past, but I would not call myself a voice actor, no. I have helped out other creators and young storytellers with projects, and my voice has such been utilized in voice acting projects, but I would not call myself a voice actor, no. The Warhound, says old King Bear, yes. and Boo is spending all of his time with Mom, so, as he does. I don't know if I would ever have the time to be a voice actor with all the lady and I do, but if opportunities present themselves, I would not turn away the possibility of telling more great stories for all of you through other mediums. I'll say that. Yeah.
How do I go about cooking the waffles?
Just put them on a plate. And you just put them on a plate and warm them up. Yeah, the tumbler is good. It actually is. It's sitting right up there right now. Drew, holding up very well. Sexiest man alive. Well, I don't know about that. I've been told that Hemsworth guy is a bit of a knockout. But I'm probably in the top 3 at least. Of my fur babies, one of my fur babies preventing me the use of my left arm. They do that. They do tend to do that quite often, as a matter of fact.
They mainly stop us from here.
Did you get my story for the contest? Where was it submitted, Teresa? If you emailed it to me, then I have it. If it is in the guild, then I haven't checked there yet this week. So then even once you've passed, you'll still tell stories through other mediums? I will, Herring, as a matter of fact. Well, just the one medium, the one type of medium, though. Waffle Iron is crazy tonight. We actually had waffles last night for dinner.
We had it like 18.
Well, yeah, and I messed up because I was talking to Everett while I was mixing the batter. And so I mismeasured, so I ended up having to make a whole box of waffle
I
batter.
did the equivalent of just saying, "Are we there yet?
Yeah,
Are
more or
we there
less.
yet? Are they done yet?"
Martin, my friend. So for anyone who is not familiar, Martin is a long time individual of the community, and that's who Rolo Bloodmane is over on Facebook. That's Martin. You should consider recording an audiobook, if not already. I have not recorded an audiobook, but I do record Storytime reads over on YouTube, if you would like to go and listen to them. And my lovely wife and I are writing books, and when those books come out, which we plan to have one out near the end of the year, we will do an audiobook for that, of course. My cat is currently trying to get the moss through the screen door. He's not succeeding. Can't imagine he would be. I sent a picture of Dragger's Bane to you on Instagram. I virtually never check my Instagram messages, but I will go look now that you've told me, Drew. My husband does voice acting and audiobook work. He enjoys it. Well, go ahead and feel free to let us know some of what your husband's work is in the chat. Do you only read fantasy? Here during Storytime, I read whatever you guys vote on. And typically it is fantasy or sci-fi. But I also read historical novels and so on. We have... Actually, I don't know if we put it out yet, but we started a read-through of the old Treasure Island book. Oh, we have ads starting over on Twitch. Twitch, you're gonna lose me here for a minute. Because I'm gonna run ads, so you guys won't have the ads for an hour, and then we'll be there. No, I personally read whatever is good. I read a lot of history and mythology and fiction and science fiction and philosophy and science. Anything that has any sort of fascination in it, I will read. Oh, my dad is on his deer hunt. I've been running heavy equipment to make sure he doesn't fall behind on his job, and I'm surprised with how much muscle memory I've retained. Haven't operated in 5 years. Good things tend to stick with you, right? Jaeger? I was rewatching Stranger Things. I really liked season 1 and 2 of Stranger Things, and then they just sort of lost me in season 3. Season 3 lost the magic for me. I do miss the D&D and have a new character idea whenever we resume that castle. Hopefully sometime next year I will have opportunity to I'll have the opportunity to do another D&D game. No ads on Facebook, thank goodness. Yes, no ads on Facebook. I think they're not on YouTube either if anyone wants to avoid the ads, but Twitch forces us to run them. And we do, it does help support the show a little bit if you're willing to sit and watch an ad. But gives a little tidbit to the tavern, but it's neither here nor there. No sneaking in this time, smashing through the front door, drinking horn in hand, now to put it back on its hinges. I appreciate you, Martin, and I'm glad that you dropped in. We're gonna get started reading now. Where we are, Martin, who is the eldest brother of the 3 royal brothers in Mid-Kemia, just learned that his youngest brother, Arutha, who is the main character of the last book, has died. He's been assassinated. And Martin is not taking it well. He is quite distraught over it, as is reasonable to be if you lose somebody you're that close to. And now he has to go to the royal capital for the funeral of his brother. And that's where we are we're in the middle of a chapter right now. That's where we left off last time. The first was Stereo Head until Diag and rebooting. Did I miss something over on YouTube? What? Oh, I did miss something. I completed my first 3 technician training modules, passed all 3 with certificates. That's excellent news, Tyson. I'm proud of you, mate. Good job. Alright, we got 26 more seconds until we're back over on Twitch, friends. That's true, Jaeger has excellent muscle memory. But, Renato, I don't know if I fully answered your question. No, we don't only read fantasy, we'll read pretty much anything. The only thing I try to avoid is anything that's overtly adult, as far as what we read together. Because I like even if this is a little bit more mature, because Tuesdays are more mature book day, even if this is more mature, it's still relatively family friendly. Like, you could listen to this book with an older child who's 13, 14, 15 years old. And then on Thursday, we have something a little bit more family friendly. I'm not opposed to more adult books, but we have a lot of people who watch with their families. And I would like to not be the person who's teaching your children terrible things. Just having them watch me is already a terrible influence. So I'll limit the number of bad things I teach your kids. Like Muscle Man from the regular show, it's on that. I've also tweaked book tree's outline and fixed a few arcs. Now it seems to be to hit more emotionally hard. Gotta be careful not to avoid it. So avoid Song of Fire and Ice. I would be willing to read a Song of Fire and Ice. I personally don't like the way that George R.R. Martin writes. But again, if you guys vote for it, I'll read anything. All of the books that get read, because this is something Colin asked over on Twitch. All of the books that get read, we vote on them over on in the guild. Which guild platforms are changing, so... But if the private community, which is now going to be a Discord, it used to be on Guilded, it'll be on Discord now. All of the books get voted on there. I don't choose any of the books. Every book that is on the list is voted on by the Tavern community. And then whichever one comes next is voted on by all of you. So you all decide what we put out. So you can recommend a book, it gets added to the list. And then each time around, the top 4 books are added to the top of to the choosing list, and whichever one gets the most votes, that's the next one. Okay, let's go ahead and begin, friends. We are in A Darkness at Sethanon. We are in the chapter Crydy. And we are about halfway through this chapter. We've got another, I think, 10 pages to go before we're at the end. Yeah. Yep. Oh, exactly 10 pages. Renato, thank you for the donut. I appreciate that. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated. KT, you said 10-year-old daughter has a birthday this week and she loves Harry Potter. Any book recommendations for her next series as a gift? Ooh, that's a good question, Katie. Lovey, do you have any young adult equivalents that... I really like Inkheart. I don't know if that would be in the same. I equate Inkheart to Harry Potter, but some people might not. Golden Compass is an older series, but that's a really good one. Do you know any midway series that you would recommend as an equivalent to Harry Potter, Loving? Percy Jackson is pretty good. Hunger Games, the first few books are really good. The first 2 books, I should say, are pretty good.
This is considered to be for younger audience, but it has a lot of adult concepts.
Yeah.
It's not super easy read. Like they'll get a story out of it, but the meat of it, it's not something they'll understand properly.
Right.
Percy Jackson is okay. Redwall is always a good choice.
Redwall is. I would even go so far as to say the early books in the Dragon Riders of Pern is... You think? Well, I mean, she said at 11 finished Harry Potter. That 10-year-old finished Harry Potter.
The writing was totally different then.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, and again, Narnia is always a good choice, but again, Narnia's writing is a little bit more advanced.
Like Harry Potter, kind of, it did increase in difficulty, and that kind of went with the children growing up. Dragon Riders of Pern does not do that. It is.
Right.
It will be difficult for an 11-year-old to understand what's going on, and there's some adult stuff in there, so that's probably not the best idea.
Artemis Fowl is another good one. Artemis Fowl is a pretty good children's series. I also like Flight, which is Flyte, and the Adventures of Septimus Tum, which is another really good series that I don't really feel gets enough attention. It was not very widely popular, but it is definitely a good young adult children's series, I would say. Well, probably closer to like the 10 to 15-year-old era, I think.
Maybe Bruce Coco books.
I'd never heard of Penny Royal Academy, but Destiny recommends Penny Royal Academy.
Spiderwick Chronicles.
Oh, Spiderwick Chronicles is legendary. I would say yes. Green light on Spiderwick Chronicles for sure.
Spiderwick Chronicles was almost as popular as Harry Potter as far as book stuff.
Yeah. Katie says I'm writing all these down. Thank you. Of course, you came into the right place to ask for a book recommendation. Okay, let's get into story time. I'll be back up in a few minutes for some more questions and discussion, friends. An epic series of failures. That's me between the ages of 17 and 25, Destiny. Alright, let's continue. Martin stood impatiently watching the scurrying activity in preparation for his and the Duke of Rodez's departure. The Duke had invited Martin to accompany him aboard his own ship, but Martin had managed a barely adequate refusal. Only the obvious stress of dealing with Arutha's death had allowed him to rebuff the Duke without serious insult. Duke Miguel and his daughters appeared from the keep dressed for travels. The girls were poorly hiding their irritation at having to resume travel so soon. It would be a full 2 weeks or more before they were again in Krondor. Then, as a member of the peerage, their father would be hurrying to Rillanon for Arutha's burial and state funeral. Duke Miguel, a slight man of fine manners and dress, said, It's tragic we must quit your wonderful home under such grim circumstances, Your Grace. If I may, I would gladly extend the hospitality of my own home to you, should Your Grace wish to rest a while after your brother's funeral. Rodez is but a short journey from the capital. Martin's first impulse was to beg off, but, keeping Fannin's words of the night before in mind, he said, "Should time and circumstance permit, Your Grace, I'll be happy to visit you. Thank you." He cast a glance at the two daughters, and determined then and there that should Tully advise an alliance between Cryde and Rodez, it would be the quiet Miranda he would court. Inez was simply too much trouble gathered together in one place. The Duke and his daughters rode out. So when Arutha learned that his brother had been assassinated, he was in the process of hosting another noble who had brought his daughters to court Martin, because Martin is a Duke of Cryde, which is a small outer kingdom, but he is brother to both the Prince of Crondor and the King of Rillanon, the entire kingdom. So there are a lot of people trying to get in Martin's proverbial pants, as it were. Moving furniture around got you in the background. Appreciate you, Martin. Oh, wait, two Martins. All right. Where was I? The Duke and his daughters rode out in a carriage towards the harbour. Martin thought back to when his father had been Duke. No one in Cryde had need of a carriage, which served poorly on the dirt roads of the duchy, often turned to thick mud by the coastal rains. But with increasing number of visitors to the west, Martin had ordered one built. It seemed the eastern ladies fared poorly on horseback while in court costume. He thought of Carline's riding like a man during the Rift War in the tight-fitting trousers and tunic, racing with Squire Roland to the utter horror of her governess. Martin sighed. Neither of Miguel's girls would ever ride like that. Martin wondered if there was a woman anywhere who shared his need for rough living. Perhaps the best he could hope for would be a woman who would accept that need in him and not complain over his long absences while he hunted and visited his friends in Elvandar. Martin's musings were interrupted by a soldier accompanying the Hawkmaster, who held out another small parchment. "This just arrived, Your Grace." Martin took the parchment. Upon it was the crest of Salador. Martin waited for the Hawkmaster until the Hawkmaster had left to open it. Most likely it was a personal message from Carlyle. He opened it and read. He read again, then thoughtfully put the parchment in his belt. After a long moment of reflection, he spoke to a soldier at post before the keep. "Fetch Swordmaster Fannin." Within minutes, the Swordmaster was in the Duke's prisons. Martin said, "I thought it over, and I agree with you. I'll offer the position of Swordmaster to Charles." "Good," said Fannin. "I expect he will agree." "Then after I'm gone, Fannin, begin at once to instruct Charles in his office," Fannin said. "Yes, Your Grace." He started to turn away, but turned back to Martin. "Your Grace." Martin halted as he had just begun to walk away, back to the keep. "Yes." "Are you all right?" Martin said. "Fine, Fannin. I've just received a note from Laurie informing me that Carline and Anita are well. Continue as you were." Without another word, he returned to the keep, passing through the large doors. Fannin hesitated before leaving. He was surprised at Martin's tone and manner. There was something odd in the way he looked as he left. Baru quietly faced Charles, Both men had sat upon the floor, their legs crossed. A small gong rested to the left of Charles, and a censer burned between them, filling the air with a sweet pungency. 4 candles illuminated the room. The only furnishings were a mat upon the floor, and which Charles preferred to a bed, a small wooden chest, and a pile of cushions. Both men wore simple robes. Each had a sword across his knees. Baru waited while Charles kept his eyes focused upon some unseen point between them. Then the Suroni said, "What is the way?" Baru answered, "The way consists of discharging loyal service to one's master, and of fidelity association with comrades. The way, with consideration to one's place in the wheel, consists of placing duty above all else." Charles gave a curt nod. In the matter of duty, the code of the warrior is absolute. Duty above all, unto death.
This is understood.
What, then, is the nature of duty? Baru spoke softly.
The duty. There is duty to one's lord. There is duty to one's clan and family. There is duty to one's work, which provides an understanding of duty to oneself. And some, they become the duty that is never satisfactorily discharged, even though the toil of a lifetime. The duty to attempt a perfect existence is to attain a higher place on the wheel.
Charles nodded. This is so. He picked up a small felt hammer and rang the tiny gong. Listen. Baru closed his eyes in meditation, listening to the sound as it faded, diminishing, becoming fainter. When the sound was fully gone, Charles said, "Find where the sound ends and the silence begins. Then exist in that moment. For there you will find your wall. It is your secret center of being, perfect place, peace within yourself. And recall the most ancient lesson of the Surani. Duty is the weight of all things, as heavy as a burden can become, while death is nothing lighter than air." The door opened and Martin slipped in. Both Baru and Charles began to rise, but Martin waved them back. He knelt between them, his eyes fixed upon the censer upon the floor. "Pardon the interruption." "No interruption, Your Grace," answered Charles. Baru said, "For years I fought the Suroni and found them honourable foemen. Now I learn more of them. Charles has allowed me to take instruction in the code of the warrior and the fascinating of his people." Martin did not appear surprised. "Have you learned much?"
"That they are like us," said Baru with a faint smile. "I know little of such things. I suspect we are as 2 saplings from the same root. They follow the way and understand the wheel, as do the Hadati. They understand honour and duty, as do the Hadati. We who live in Yabon have taken much from the kingdom. The names of our gods and most of our language, but there is much in the old ways the Hadati kept. The Suroni believe in the way is much like our own. This is strange, for until coming of the Suroni, no others we'd met shared our beliefs."
"Look, it's Dad. Hello, Kayla. Good to see you. Welcome in." Bethany said, I'm not at home, but I'm going to try and listen on my drive home, as my phone reception will let me. Very good. Just make sure that you're driving safe and don't overdo it. And we'll see for sure when you get home." Martin looked at Charles. The Suroni shrugged slightly. "Perhaps we can only find the same truth on both worlds. Who can say?" Martin said, "That sounds like the sort of thing to take up Tully and Corgan." He was quiet for a moment and then said, "Charles, Will you accept the position of Swordmaster? The Seroni blinked, the only sign of surprise. You honor me, Your Grace, yes. Good, I'm pleased. Sethanon will begin your instruction after I'm gone. Martin looked up at the door and then lowered his voice. I want you both to do me a service. Charles didn't hesitate in agreeing to serve. Baru studied Martin closely. They had forged a bond on the trip to Moray Lane with Arutha. Baru had almost died there, but fate had spared him. Baru knew his fortune was intertwined in some way with those who'd quested for Silverthorn. Something lay hidden behind the Duke's eyes, but Baru would not question him. He would learn what it was in time. Finally he said, As will I. Martin sat between the men and began to speak. Good night, Corn, rest well, and I, your friendly neighborhood pillaging and traveling agent, Martin. Santana, hello, good to see you. I wish I could fill everyone in on why this is so important. The truth is, even without explanation, you all are giving the perfect answers. Well, I'm glad to hear it. Kerry, I'm glad. Any way that we can help is always a wonderful privilege for us. So I have grim news about my stepbrother's sister. Well, I was going to say I hope it's not too bad, but grim is a hell of a word. Mick, hello! Welcome in, my friend. I'm so glad that you could join us. Grab a seat. Fill your mug. Kitchen is clean, and I'm back upstairs. Always like a ninja. Absolutely, Kayla, that's good advice. And I'm going to go back to reading. If I miss anything, please let me know, friends. Martin gathered his cloak about him. The afternoon breeze was chilly, blowing down from the north. He looked sternward as Crydy disappeared behind the headlands of Sailor's Grief. With a nod to the ship's captain, he descended the companionway from the quarterdeck, entering the captain's cabin. He locked the door behind. The man who waited there was Sethanon's soldier, one of Sethanon's soldiers named Stefan, equal in height and general build to the Duke, and wearing a tunic and trousers of the same colour as Martin. He had been sneaked aboard in the early hours of the dawn, dressed as a common sailor. Martin took off his cloak and handed it to the man. Don't come on deck, except after night, until you're well past Quain. Should anything force the ship ashore at Cast to land, or the Free Cities, I don't want sailors speaking of my disappearance. Yes, Your Grace. When you get to Crondor, there'll be a carriage waiting for you, I expect. I don't know how long you can continue the masquerade. Most of the nobles who've met me will already be en route to Rillanon, and we're enough alike to casual observation that most servants won't know you. Martin studied his bogus counterpart. If you keep your mouth closed, you might pass as me until all the way to Rillanon. Stefan looked disquieted by the prospect of a long siege of playing nobility, but only said, I will try, Your Grace. The ship rocked as the captain ordered a change of course. Martin said, That's the first warning. Quickly he stripped off his boots, tunic and trousers, until all that he wore was his underbreeches. The captain's cabin had a single hinged window, which opened with a protest. Martin hung his leg over the edge. From above he heard the captain's angry voice. You're coming too close to shore, you
Starboard!
A confused-sounding helmsman answered, Aye, Captain! Hard starboard! Martin said, Good fortune to you, Stefan. And with you, your grace. Martin dropped from the captain's cabin. The captain had warned him of the danger of hitting a large tiller, so Martin easily avoided it. The captain had brought him as close to the shore as was safe, then turned out for deeper waters. Martin saw the beach less than a mile off. He was an indifferent swimmer, but a powerful man, and he set out for the shore in a series of easy strokes. The rolling swells made it unlikely anyone in the rigging would notice the man who was falling far behind them. A short time later, Martin staggered up onto the beach, breathing hard. He looked about, locating landmarks. The action of the currents had taken him farther south than he had wished. Taking a deep breath, he turned up the beach and began to run. After less than 10 minutes, 3 riders came over a low bluff. Moving rapidly down the sand, upon seeing them, Martin halted. Garrett was the first to dismount, while Charles led an extra horse. Baru kept alert, on an eye out for a sign of anyone in the area. Garrett handed Martin a bundle of clothing. The run up to the beach had dried Martin off, and he dressed quickly. Behind the saddle of the extra horse hung an oilskin-covered longbow. Martin dressed, and he said, Did anyone see you leave? Charles answered, Garrett was already gone from the castle with your horse before dawn, and I simply instructed the guards I was riding a short way with Baru as he returned to Yabon. No comment was made by anyone. Good. As we learned last time, we faced Mermandamus's agents. Secrecy is paramount. Martin mounted and said, Thank you for your help, Charles. You and Garrett had best return quickly, before anyone becomes suspicious. Charles said, Whatever fate brings, your grace, may it also bring honor. Garrett only said, Good fortune to you, your grace. The 4 riders were off. 2 returning up the coast, rode to Crady, 2 heading away from the sea, toward the forest, bound for the northeast. Pistol, hello. Welcome in, so very glad you could join us. Yes, I was waiting for it, and it took a bit to come in. She isn't going to make it. She was 18. That's dreadfully unfortunate, Santana. But she is an organ donor, so she will help others. It's okay, my heart goes out to my stepbrother. We're a big family. Past few years have been rough. Well, Santana, how about we do a song on the break in honor of him? And you just let me know what you'd like to have sung, brother. And a slow, silent moment with a glass raised for Santana's sister, who is finding herself on the road out. Nate, you said Raymond E. Weiss is my favorite author, one of them. Just finished the entire series since high school. Well, I'm glad that you're enjoying it. We've enjoyed it quite a bit as well. I don't know what's wrong with my mouth tonight. Alright. What did I miss? I was having supper. You didn't miss much, Petro. We're about... It literally is just Martin leaving Crady. I have a huge anthology of the Narnia books, and I love them dearly. Crystal, hello, long time no see, welcome in. Her name was Kimber, all right. With then a glass raised to Kimber. As she walked swiftly through the... Thought I was going to sneeze, I apologize. May she walk swiftly through the fields as she goes on, and may she walk quickly, and may she find nothing but kin and love on the other side. What are your streaming days and times? So I do Storytime on Tuesdays and Thursdays, Pacific Standard Time. Typically, I try to start around 4:30, but we usually start between 4:30 and 5:30. Tuesday and Thursday, and then the lady does Sundays, and sometimes I'll get on and waffle a little bit before she gets on. And Esther, you said, I just finished a phone call and now I'm back. Turning in to listen in the background, looking forward to what's coming next. Much good, hopefully. Right, it's been ages, I've been crazy busy lately. Well, I'm glad that you make it back in. Your seat is, of course, ready. You're welcome to grab it and settle in for us. All right, we got 2 pages left. 4 pages left in this chapter, and then we'll take a quick break, and then we'll try to read a whole nother chapter, I think. Let's see. The next chapter is... not terribly long, it's 15 pages. We should be able to do a 15-page chapter, I think. All right, Kayla, rest well. And may you rise tomorrow ready to face the day. What's the best way to promote you? You don't have to worry about that. As long as you enjoy what we do, that's all that we require. If you enjoy any of the videos that we post, that's the best thing that you can do for the tavern is enjoy them. Leave a comment, ask for other topics, like something, or send it to a friend. Send it to a friend or family member you think will also enjoy it. That is very much, you don't have to worry about anything else in that way. If you enjoy it, please enjoy it and let us know. And send it off to people who you think might enjoy it as well. Twitch is the best platform to watch us on as far as lives go. Just because it is the preeminent platform to do that. If you want to support the tavern, but you can also watch on YouTube. You can watch the VODs over on YouTube. Go through the portal there and enjoy them. But I don't like to put any emphasis on like supporting or promoting the tavern because if what we make is good and beloved, then it'll find its way to the people who want it. That's very much how we try to look at things. Santana, pick a song, brother, for the break, and we'll sing in Kimber's honor. We'll do one song in her honor during the break. All right, let's finish. The forests were quiet, but still punctuated by the normal bird calls and small animal noises that indicated things were as they should be. Martin and Baru had ridden hard for days, pushing their horses to the limit of their endurance. They had crossed the river Cryde hours earlier. From behind a tree, a figure emerged, dressed in a dark green tunic and brown leather breeches. With a wave, he said, "Well met, Martin Longbow, Baru Serpent Slayer." Martin recognized the elf, though he did not know him well. "Greetings, Tarlin. We come seeking counsel of the Queen." "Then travel on, for you and Baru are always welcome in her court. I must stand watch here. Things have become somewhat strained since last you guessed it." Martin recognized the tone of the elf's words. Something had the elves distressed, but Tarlin wouldn't speak on it. Martin would need to see the Queen and Tomas to discover what it was. He wondered. The last time the elves had seemed this disturbed over something, Tomas had been at the height of his madness. Martin spurred his horse forward. Later, the two riders approached the elves of the Elven Forest. Elvendard, ancient home of the elves. The tree city was awash with light, for the sun was high overhead, crowning the massive trees with brilliance. Leaves of green and gold, red and white, silver and bronze sparkled across the canopy of Elvendar. As they dismounted, an elf approached. We shall care for your mounts, Lord Martin. Her Majesty wishes you to come at once. Martin and Baru hurried up the stairs cut from the bole of a tree into the city of the elves. Across the high arches on the backs of branches, upward they moved. At last, they reached the large platform that was the center of Elvendar, the court of the Queen. Kenneth, hello, my friend. Welcome back. So very glad that you could join us for story time. Go ahead and grab your seat. I found you on TikTok, but I enjoy Twitch much more now. Well, good. I'm glad. I'm glad that you enjoy it. And I hope that you enjoy some of the other things that we do as well. The lady and I tell a lot of stories, so it's almost certainly there's to be something for everyone. Raise your horns into the air. Sláinte. Did Santana pick a song? Any of the barkeeps catch it? Plenty of ale to share, yes indeed.
I didn't see her. Doing all kinds of things. I just said that we would sing her song.
Yeah. Well, the Discord is the best place to keep up with everything that's going on in the tavern, because the lady and I do a lot. Probably too much, if we're being honest. But there are a great many things to do in the tavern, so I'm sure you'll enjoy all of them. All right. Well, if Santana does pop back in and leave his choice of song, please somebody make sure you grab it for me. I would appreciate that. Thank you. Let's see. Aglarana sat quietly upon her throne, her senior advisor, Tathard, at her side. Around the court the elder spellweavers sat, the Queen's council. The throne beside her was empty. Her expression was unreadable to most, but Martin understood the elves' ways, and saw the strain in her eyes. Still, she was beautiful and regal, and her smile a beacon of warmth as she said, "Welcome, Lord Martin. Welcome, Baru of the Hadati." Both men bowed, and then the Queen said, "Come, let us talk." She rose and led them to a chamber accompanied by Tathar. Inside, she turned and bade them sit. Wine and food were brought, but ignored, as Martin said. "Something is wrong." It was not a question. Aglarana's expression of concern deepened. Martin had not seen her this troubled since the Rift War. "Tomas is gone." Martin blinked. "Where?" Tathard answered. "We don't know. He vanished in the night, a few days after the Midsummer's Festival. Occasionally he would wander off to be on his own with his own thoughts, but never for more than a day. When he did not appear after 2 days, trackers were dispatched. There were no tracks from Elvendar, though that is not surprising. He has other means of travelling, but in a glade to the north we found marks from his boots. There were signs of another man there, sandal prints in the dirt." Martin said, "Tomas went to meet with someone and then didn't return." "There were a third set of tracks," said the Elf Queen. "A dragon's. Once again, the Valheru flies upon the back of a dragon. Martin sat back, understanding. You fear the return of the madness? No, said Tethard instantly. Tomas is free of that, and, if anything, is stronger than he suspects. No, we fear Tomas's need to depart in such a manner without word. We fear the presence of another. Martin's eyes widened. The sandals. You know what power is needed to enter our forests undetected. Only one man before has had that ability. Macross the Black. Martin pondered. Miss Chibish. Hello and welcome to the tavern. So very glad you could join us. Grab a seat, settle in. Bear, is Pug Macross the Black? You don't have to answer that. You don't have to answer that. Never mind. Forget it. We'll find out. Alright. Yeah, no spoilers. No spoilers. Don't answer me. Don't answer me. I don't. We'll find out. We'll find out. I don't want to ruin it for anybody. I shouldn't have even said that out loud. I apologize. Sorry. Erin, hello. Red is the rose. You shall have red is the rose, Santana. You're as bad as Marty.
Maddie.
Oh, Matty. I was going to say.
Because he's a spoiler.
I nearly answered on autopilot. Don't answer me. Don't answer me. Never mind. I just noticed a pattern, and we'll find out. We'll find out. Sorry, everybody. I've been here for a while and playing my game. That's all right. I'm glad you're still here. Greetings, storyteller. Glad to make it in again. Wes, good to see you. Grab your seat. Settle in. It's wonderful to have you, my friend. Okay. Huh? Slancher? Haven't Pug and Macross been in the same place before? Yes, they have. But that means nothing in fantasy novels. And that also would explain... Never mind. I'm not going to explain why that would explain. Never mind. Stop it. We're not going to have this discussion right now. Have fun what you're reading. Oh wait, never mind. Yes, we are. I tried to make it apparent, but yes, we are reading "The Darkness of Sethanon" by Raymond E. Feist, and we are on chapter 5, almost to the end of chapter 5. Okay, all right. And Lisa, hello, welcome in. I don't know if you've been in before, but I am Castle, this is my tavern, and here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore, and every now and again I read you all a story. Tonight, of course, we are in Feist, Darkness of Sethanon, which is the 4th book in the Riftwar saga, which is a wonderful series if you've never read it. And you have stumbled in through the portals to a place where all the stories eventually come to rest, and you are here because you sought a story, my friend. So settle in, fill a glass, and find some camaraderie amongst your feathered tavern goers, and we will continue on our way. I'm sorry, Bear. I'm sorry. I won't put you on the spot like that again. I will keep my ponderances to myself from now on. I apologize. Martin pondered. Perhaps he's not the only one. I understand Pug, who have stayed upon the surrounding world to study the problem of Mermandomus and what he called the enemy. Perhaps he is returned. Which sorcerer's master it proves is of little import, said Taffel. It was Baru who spoke next. What is important is that 2 men of vast powers are about upon a mission of mystery, at a time when it seems troubles have returned from the north. Aglarona said. Yes, she said to Martin. Rumours have reached us of the death of one of those close to you, In the elven way, she avoided naming the dead.
There are things I may not speak of, lady. Even to one as highly regarded as you. I have a duty.
Then, said Tathor,
may I ask where you are bound and what brings you here?
it is time to go north again, said Martin, to finish what was started last year.
It is well you came this way,
said Tathor.
We have seen signs from the coast to the east of massive goblin migrations northward. Also, the Moradel are bold with their scouting along the edges of our forests. They seem intent on discovering if any of our warriors pass beyond our normal boundaries. There have been sightings of bands of renegade humans riding northward, close to the second boundary of the Stone Mountain as well. The Gwali have fled south into the Greenheart, as if fearing something approaching, and for months we have been visited by some ill-aspected wind of evil, which carries some mythic quality, as if power were being drawn to the north. We are concerned over many things.
Baru and Martin exchanged glances.
Things move at a swift pace, said the Haddati.
Further conversation was halted when a shout went up from below, and an elf appeared at the Queen's elbow.
Majesty, come, are returning,
Aglorana said.
Come, Martin, Baru, witness something miraculous.
Tathor followed his queen, turning to say,
if it is indeed a true returning and not a ruse.
The Queen and Tathor were joined by her other advisors as they hurried down the forest floor. Then they reached the ground level and they were greeted by several warriors who surrounded a Moradel. The dark elf looked somehow odd to Martin, showing a calmness beyond what was normal for the dark elves. The Moradel saw the Queen and bowed before her, lowering his head. Softly he said,
Lady, I have returned.
The Queen nodded to Tathor. He and others of the Spellweavers gathered about the Moradel. Martin could feel a strange phase sensation, as if the air had suddenly become charged, and as if music could almost be heard. He knew the Spellweavers were working magic. Then Tathor said,
He has returned!
Aglorana said,
What is your name? Mordanis, Majesty. No more. You are Lorraine.
Martin had learned the year before that there was no true difference between the branches of elvenkind, separated only by the power of the Dark Path, that which bound the Moradel to a life of murderous hatred towards all not of their kind. But there was a subtle difference in attitude, stance, and manner between the two. The Moradel rose, and the elves surrounding him helped him to remove his tunic, the grey of the Moradel forest clans. Martin had lived with the elves all his life, and fought the Moradel many times and could recognize the difference. But now his senses were confounded. One moment the Moradel seemed odd, somehow different from what they had expected. Then suddenly he was a Moradel no longer. He was given a brown tunic, and miraculously, Martin saw an elf there. He had the dark hair and eyes common to the Moradel, but then so did a few of the other elves, just as an occasional Moradel was blonde and blue-eyed. He was an elf. Tathor observed Martin's reaction to the change and said,
Occasionally, one of our dark brothers breaks away from the dark path. If his kin do not discover the change and kill him before he reaches us, we welcome him to return to his home. It is a cause for rejoicing.
Martin and Baru watched as every elf in the area came to embrace Lorraine in turn, welcoming him home.
In the past, the Moradel have attempted to send spies, but we can always tell the true from the false. This one has truly returned to his people.
Baru said, Does it happen often?
Of all who abide in Elvendar, I am the eldest,
said Tathor. I have only seen 7 such returnings before this one. He was silent for a time. Some day, we hope we shall redeem all the brothers in this fashion. When the dark power of the dark path is at last broken.
Agrarona turned to Martin.
Come, we shall be celebrating.
We may not, Majesty, answered Martin.
We must be away to meet with others. May we know your plans?
It is simple, answered the Duke of Crady. We shall find Mermandamus. And, added Baru without expression, we shall kill him. And so ends Chapter 5 of A Darkness at Sethanon. Brooke, hello! Long time no see, welcome in. Black Dragon, hello, good to see you, so very glad that you could join us. And Mike, thank you for the follow over on TikTok, so very, very glad you could join us, my friend. You have marked the tavern on your map, you should be able to find your way back the very next time you seek a story. And Dazzling Paws Dog Grouping, thank you for the follow over on YouTube. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Alright, so... Anyone deal with nerve pain? Message me, Santana. I've had nerve death in my body since I was about 12 years old. So send me a message and I'll help you with a few things, if you like. It's been a while. How you were doing spectacularly. Storytime has been wonderful. We still have a whole other chapter to go, so if you're just dropping in, don't worry, you haven't missed the whole thing. We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to run ads for our friends over on Twitch. I'm going to get up and stretch so that my body doesn't die on me. And then I will be back. We're going to sing a song for... Your sister's name was Kimber, yes? Am I right in remembering that? Good night, Milu. Rest well. I hope that you feel well on the morrow and that you rise ready to face the day and that you conquer all things that lie before you. Alright, friends, Brooke, everyone is quite well. We're all doing very well. How are you doing? It's been a while since we've seen you, but I hope you're well. Fibromyalgia and narrowed nerve passages in my back. The back is the worst place to have nerve pain other than in your joints. Because if you have nerve pain in your back, it's terrible. Terrible, because then it spreads to everywhere else. So even when you're not in pain, because it's at the center of your nervous system, your body is gonna tell you that you're in pain, and it's the worst. I'm good. I actually got a good blood pressure reading today. Spectacular. That's good news. Good health is always good news. Yeah. If you've got it in your lower back, going down your legs is terrible. Terrible. Yeah, send me a message, Santana. I'll send you some things you can do to mitigate the nerve pain. Shoot me a message and I'll send you what I do to manage my nerve flare-ups. Good night, Milo. Rest well. I didn't have much time tonight, but I wanted to come and support my favorite tavern. I appreciate you. I'm going to take a 5-minute break, friends. I'm going to get up and stretch. I'm going to refill my mug. And then when I come back, we're going to sing a song. Black Dragon, if you can't stick around that long, I understand. And I appreciate you for dropping in. But I'll be right back, friends. Give me just 5. I'll be right back.
Alright, friends, I'm going to turn up the sensitivity on the microphone here, and I'm going to move it into the middle here so that you'll all be able to hear the lady, because the lady has agreed to join me for Red is the Rose for the middle. What is your drink of choice? So always my drink of choice during story time is 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen, which is just water. I have a hard time recommending other creators because there are a lot of creators that the creator space is a tumultuous one. Somebody who we raid regularly is Falcon. Her community is relatively safe as far as I know they're not gonna say anything wild, and generally she reads books and does ASMR. But beyond that, I couldn't really recommend anybody that does reads like this because we're really the only community that does exactly this. But if you ever find anybody who does anything remotely close to what we do, please feel free to recommend that to me, and I will give them a look so that we can share tavern love over there, as it was. Poseidon juice. Well, not Poseidon juice, because Poseidon juice would be salty. But,
Only a little.
Mananan MacLear juice, maybe. Since he's a river god in Ireland. Boyne juice.
Boy juice.
My choice as a dwarf is a Guinness to drink. Thank you, Santana. I appreciate you, brother. I hope you'll enjoy it. I don't ever want to feel, I don't think you guys ever feel like you have to follow or watch or like any of the things that we do. But we do appreciate all of you who do go and enjoy those things. We make them for your enjoyment. So if you do enjoy the things, we absolutely appreciate everybody who shares the things that we do and who enjoys the things that we do, very much so. Esther says, hello, Una.
Hello.
Okay, we're gonna do raid. Santana, just so that I'm sure I have it right, your sister's name was Kimber, yes? Am I remembering that correctly? We're gonna do a quick memorial song for Santana's kin, who is on their way to the net. Alright, excellent. Beer, whiskey, and mead for me. Yeah, I have not been much on the drink, really ever, but especially since I have a bad heart and a bad liver. So, my life will already be overwhelmingly short because of those things. So it's not intelligent for me to tempt fate by overly taxing my internal organs that already started off on third base. Don't want to see them running home too soon. Y'all, and I appreciate you all, and yes sir, y'all, and appreciate the calm and the storm we call life. Always a pleasure, my friend. You're an excellent voice for reading, sir, and greetings to you, lady. Thank you, Wes. I appreciate you for that. I'm glad you enjoy the things. Honestly, don't know how you don't have millions of followers. This is so my happy place. Well, I think we have exactly as many people as the tavern can hold. And as the tavern grows, I'll do my best to make sure that I don't let it change too much. Because this is our happy place as well, the lady and I's. So, alright. You ready, my love?
Yep.
Come over the hills, my bonny Irish lass. Come over the hills to your darling. You choose the road, love, and I'll make the vow. And I'll be your true love forever. Red is the rose that in yonder garden grows. Fair is the lily of the valley. Clear is the water that flows from the boil. But my love is fairer than any. 'Twas down by Killarney's green woods that we strayed, when the moon and the stars, they were shining. The moon, it shone its rays on her locks of golden hair, and she swore she'd be my love forever. Red is the rose that in yonder garden grows. Fair is the lily of the valley. Clear is the water that flows from the boil. But my love is fairer than any. It's not for the parting that my sister pains. It's not for the grief of my mother. It's all for the loss of my bonny Irish lass, that my heart is breaking forever. Red is the rose that in yonder garden grows. Fair is the lily of the valley. Clear is the water that flows from the boil. But my love is fairer than any.
Red is the rose that in yonder garden grows. Fair is the lily of the valley. Clear is the water that flows from the boil. But my love is fairer than any.
Oh, my love is fairer than any. And we raise a glass to fallen friends and kin who walk on before us on a path paved by many a foot. May they forever be as happy as are today, and may our today be as happy as their forever. Raise a glass, friends. Hannah, hello. It has been a while. Hang on, let me get my mic back over here. Thank you to the lady for lending us her lovely tones. Erin says, woo, no, yeah. Many thanks, Castle and the Lady of the Tavern. Always our pleasure and privilege, Santana. Absolutely always. Red is the Rose is one of Elsie's favourite songs. You both delivered truly wonderful rendition, Casanona. You sang it beautifully. Thank you, Esther. Thank you kindly. The compliment is deeply appreciated. Ashley, hello. I hope your family member is doing all right. Whatever accident happened, I hope they're well. Hannah, hello. I'm glad that you couldn't be in. It has been a while since we've seen you. And I'm glad that you're all enjoying the songs. Always, always, always a pleasure, my friends. And with that, if there are no other questions, I will bring you all back into the world of Midkemia. The lady has a beautiful voice and you sing wonderful together. She does have a lovely voice, doesn't she? When you sing, you can feel the emotion, but when the lady started, I ain't gonna lie, I started crying. I have a power of reverberation in me that gets across the feeling. But she sings directly to your soul in all that she does. I've been working so much lately that I couldn't get to storytelling. While we are sad, I'm glad that you've had work. Having work is a blessing, especially in this day and age. So I'm glad that you've been blessed with work. But I'm also glad that we get to see you tonight, Hannah. So grab your seat if you've got the time, fill your mug, and you'll be here for some storytelling. All right, we are on chapter 6 of A Darkness at Sethanon by Raymond E. Feist. And the chapter is called Leave Taking. And it looks like we are back in Krondor, which is where Arutha was assassinated. And there's something crazy going on because Martin was hell-bent on getting back to Krondor to be there for his brother's burial. But whatever note he got from his sister and his sister-in-law told him, don't do that, come this way, and then go north and fight Mermandamus. For some reason. So now we're back in Krondor. It looks like we're with Jimmy the Hand again. The conversation is somehow better than the storytelling. The storytelling is amazing. We have such a hard time staying on track because the conversation is so good, Katie. It's insane. Like we will have wonderful storytelling times with both the lady and I, sometimes with the two of us together. And then the rants and the tangents and the conversations get to be so good that it's hard to pick which one we want to do more. So many people love the rants, and I love a good conversation. Waffles, right? Milu has a whole emote dedicated to it. Waffling. We just waffle a bit, and they're wonderful. I love a good waffle session. And yeah, it gets out of hand sometimes. There have been instances where we get a good topic running, and I will go for a good 45 minutes to an hour, just waffle topic to topic. It'll happen. Castle runs, Una tangents, or just Matty chats. That's true. Matty does chat more than almost anyone else in some instances. All right. All right, we'll go there, we'll go there. All right. I haven't missed anyone, so we're going to carry on. Elsie and I truly cherish the thrill of a captivating conversation. I'm glad, Esther. It is a treasure here in the tavern, I would say. Tell me, what is the inner working of pineapple pizza? Oh, the death of a culture, Matty, the death of a culture, sadly. Every time you put pineapple on pizza, several Italians, they just disappear. They just disappear off the face. Every piece of pineapple. And soon we won't have Italian food anymore because you insist on pineapple on pizza. That's what you're doing. You're getting rid of all Italian food just so you can create a monstrosity. All right, let's continue. Chapter 6, Leave Taking. Jimmy sat quietly. He absently studied the list in his hand, attempting to keep his mind on the matter before him. But he was unable to concentrate on the task. The duty roster of squires for that afternoon's cortege was done, or as done as it was likely to be. Jimmy felt an emptiness inside, and need to decide which squire was posted where seemed trivial in the extremes. For 2 weeks, Jimmy had been fighting the feeling that he was caught up in some horrible dream, one from which he could not shake himself. Nothing in this existence so far had affected him as deeply as Arutha's murder, and he still couldn't face his emotions. He had slept long each night, as if sleep were an escape, and when awake, he was nervous and anxious to be doing something, as if being busy would keep him from dealing with his grief. He kept it hidden away, to be confronted later. Jimmy sighed. One thing the young man knew: this funeral was taking a hellishly long time to get organized. Laurie and Volney had postponed the departure of the funeral procession twice now. The bier had been placed aboard its carriage within 2 days after Arutha's death, awaiting his body. Tradition held that the prince's cortege should have started for Rilinon and his ancestral vault within 3 days of his death. But Anita had taken days returning from her mother's estates, then a few more days in recovering enough to depart. Then they needed to wait for other nobles who were arriving. And the palace was in disorder, and so on and so on. Still, Jimmy knew he wouldn't begin to get over this tragedy until after Arutha was carried away. Knowing he lay in the temporary vault Nathan had prepared, somewhere not too far from where the squire now sat, was just too much for Jimmy. He rubbed his eyes, lowered his head, as once more the threat of tears was forced down. In his short life, Jimmy had met only one man who had touched him deeply. Arutha should have been one of the last men in the world to care about the fate of a boy thief. But he had. He had proved a friend and more. He and Anita had been the closest thing to family Jimmy had ever known. A knock upon the door brought his head up, and he saw Locklear standing at the entrance. Jimmy waved him in, and the younger boy sat down on the other side of the writing desk. Jimmy tossed the parchment at him. "Eh, Lockie, you do this." Locklear quickly scanned the list and then took the quill from the holder.
It's almost ready, except Paul is down with the flux and the surgeon wants him in bed for the day. He needs rest. This is a mess. I better recopy it.
Jimmy nodded absently. Through the blanket of grey sorrow he wrapped his thoughts. An irritant was gently scratching. Something had been nagging at the corner of the young man's mind for 3 days now. Everyone in the palace was still in shock at Arutha's death, but there was an odd note here and there. Every so often someone said or did something that was somehow discordant. Jimmy couldn't put his finger on what the difference was, and even if it was important, with a mental shrug he pushed aside his worry. Different people reacted differently to tragedy. Some, like Volney and Gardon, threw themselves into their work. Others, like Carline, went off to cope with their grief in a private way. Duke Laurie was a lot like Jimmy. He put his grief aside to be faced at some other time. Suddenly Jimmy understood one reason for his feeling of oddness about the palace. Laurie had been just about running the palace from the time Arutha lay stricken until 3 days ago. Now he was almost continuously absent. I swear if Arutha is permanently dead, I'm going to be very annoyed. I need a favorite character of mine to not die prematurely for once. Okay, so I'm unfortunately going to have to love and leave you all and need to stay by my phone. That's all right, Ashley. Rest well. Take care of your family. It's all well and good. Just make sure that your family is well and that you're, as Beauty and Blasphemy said, that your loved one recovers. So, Bethany, I will say that I believe that Ruth is not dead. I won't say why because I don't want to ruin anything, but I don't think that Ruth is dead. I think that it is a trick, and I won't say any more than that. But I think it's a trick, and we'll see what happens. I see an Ugnaught. I can't help but go, oh look, a hairless Ewok. Because Molly came in one time and went, that guy looks like a hairless Ewok when I got a mission from one. Oh, Star Wars. The Old Republic, okay. That's very funny. My favorite of the three brothers is Martin Longbow. I think Martin and Arutha have the most personality. We really haven't got to see much of Liam. Liam has sort of been in the background the whole time, so we don't have as much of him. I missed a lot of this book. Can you summarize? Yes. So, leading up, I'll give you a summary of everything that happened up to this point, and I'll do it very quickly. In the first two books, we follow Pug and Tomas and the broader spectrum of their story. Pug is the magician from the first book, and he basically becomes a master magician in two worlds, Kelawon and Midkemia. Tomas, who is his best friend from Crady, basically ends up being friends with dwarves, and he gets some old dragon armor. That dragon armor turns him into a Valheru, who were the dragon riders. They're basically 2 steps below the gods in this world. At the end of all of that, a guy named Macros the Black closes the portal between Kelawon and Midkemia. Kelawon is where the Surani are. You'll hear me say Surani. They're just another race of people from Kelawon, which is sort of like a Japanese, Mesopotamian-inspired culture. And then Midkemia, which is sort of like a European, basically like a European medieval-inspired culture. Macros the Black, who is the greatest wizard sorcerer to ever exist, basically closes up the portal and tricks everybody in order to do it, in order to protect them from a being that we learn is called the Enemy. The Enemy is a great outer god, we'll say, who exists outside of everything else. In Silverthorn, we learn that that outer god is trying to find his way back in. And in this book, Silverthorn, which is the one that comes before this one, Arutha, who is the youngest son of Duke Boric, who is Prince of Krondor in this book. The 3 kingdoms that we worry the most about are Krondor, Rillanon, and Crady. Crady is the place we started. Rillanon is the second kingdom in the west. Rillanon is the main kingdom in the west, and Krondor is the second kingdom in the west. In this book, Arutha's fiancée, Anita, gets struck with a poison that is derivative of a plant called Silverthorn. This whole book is a quest to find the cure. In the course of that quest, we learn that Arutha is a part of a prophecy that the Moradel basically come to terms with. And in this book, we learn that Arutha has to die in order for the Enemy, the outer god, to return. And that outer god is called Mermandamus. Okay? Start of this book is a year after this book. They find Silverthorn. They're able to save Anita. The start of this book is a year later. Anita and Arutha have had children. They just gave birth to twins at the start of this book. Okay? We're up to where we are now. Pug, who was in another world, he was in Kelawon. At the end of Silverthorn, Pug goes to Kelawon. He finds other elves, and they teach him magic. Okay? More magic. At the end of that book, Pug is still God. He's in another world. At the start of this book, what has happened so far is we learn that Arutha and Anita had 2 children, twin boys, that are named after their fathers. Pug returns to this world, and he and Tomas then leave and go to an entirely different world that we've never even heard of before. Crady is a duchy, not a kingdom, but for the sake of simplicity, these are small sections of the same kingdom. So Krondor is sort of like the secondary kingdom. Crady is a duchy, but it's the domain that we start in, and then Rillanon is the kingdom as a whole. Okay. We learn that the assassins, who are called Blackhawks, Nighthawks, something like that, are trying to kill Arutha again. They have succeeded. He is dead. Arutha is dead. And now Tomas and Pug are on a different world, and there is some sort of conspiracy that is happening behind the scenes. That's where we are now. Jimmy was the son of a thief who became a thief, and is now the head squire because he saved Arutha's life in the first book. Twice he saved Arutha's life. And it was only because of Jimmy that they were able to save Anita's life. So Jimmy is very well respected within the kingdom now. He's still a young man, but he's the head squire for Arutha's palace. And he was there when Arutha was murdered, and very much blames himself for not getting in the way of it. I hope I covered all of the... I covered. I think I covered everything. Everybody, does that make sense? Katie, did that make sense? I managed to do all. Guys, we didn't even need to read all those books. It took us 6 months to read through those 3 books. I could have done it all in 11 minutes. Okay, perfect. All right, and now we are with Jimmy, who is working with the other squires in the palace. All right. That was a pretty good overall. There's a lot more to it, obviously. we're looking at well over probably about 1,200 pages between the 3 books that we've finished. So there's a lot to go into with that, but that's the gist of it. Okay. Yeah, book 1. Ironically, though, more happens in Silverthorn than happened in all of the first 2 books. Silverthorn had way more happen in it because it took like 150 pages for Magician to even get going. I'm running out of space in my less than 600 square foot apartment for books. I don't need this series. We found some pretty nice copies, some pretty nice hard copies of Feist books. I'm hooked. I love the world that he has. It's very good. All right, let's continue. Where was I? Looking at Locklear, as the young boy wrote on the duty roster, Jimmy said, "Lockie, have you seen Duke Laurie about lately?" Keeping his eyes on his work, Locklear said, "This morning, very early, I was in charge of delivering meals to the visiting nobles for breakfast. I saw him riding out the gate, and then his head came up, a strange expression on his face. It was the postern gate." "Why would he leave by the postern gate?" Jimmy wondered. Locklear shrugged and returned to the roster. "Because that's the direction he was heading in?" Jimmy thought. What reason did the Duke of Salador have to be riding towards the poor quarter in the morning of the prince's funeral procession? Jimmy sighed. "I'm becoming suspicious in my old age." Keep in mind, he's like 17. "I'm finally home after running a few errands and getting dinner. Excellent, Tyson. I'm glad you made it home safe." What would you call a world ruled by multiple feuding royal houses? Would that be a monarchy or something else? Sounds like a feudal system. And I don't mean that because you said feuding. A feudal system is where you have several lords who rule over things and sort of like a tenuous leader over the top. As a tavern keeper, what are your drink recommendations? Well, for all of you, I strongly recommend you do my drink of choice, at least 60 to 90 ounces a day of 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen. If you're talking about liquor, I prefer meads, ciders, and whiskies. But if you're just talking about drinks in general, possibly a feudal oligarchy. It could be. I probably gross some people out with this, but I'm a milkman. I like to drink milk. Milk is delicious. But when it comes to liquor, my family are very much purists. So if it's mead, you just drink mead. If it's whiskey, you just drink whiskey. Milkman here too. Hell yeah, Matty. I need to refresh my tea and I will be right back. All right, Petra, get yourself a fresh glass of tea. Milk is delicious, all right? One time I tasted a strawberry-flavored mead and I liked it. Berry meads can be very good. If they're done well, berry meads can be very good. See, Quirt, love milk. Car guy, love milk, but it doesn't love me. I can drink 3 gallons a week. I can, I don't. Because you shouldn't drink that much milk, but if you drink really, really good milk, it's not as much of a problem. Jonathan, hello, my friend, welcome in. So very glad you could join it. Beauty and Blasphemy says team milk. That's an insane amount of milk. I used to drink that much milk when I was younger, don't get me wrong. Like, I used to power through at least 1 gallon a week by myself. Chocolate milk and popcorn is an amazing snack. Thank you, Brooksy. Ushkabith. Yeah. My favorite brand of poutine, if you would, is called Baranushka, which means top of the water. Okay, so maybe sleep isn't working. You just can't stay away from stories, Milo. That's the problem. You don't want to miss out on any of the thrilling things happening here in the tavern. I don't love milk that much, damn man. That's a lot of milk. 3 gallons a week is a lot. That's how much water you should be drinking, Matty. Is that why you're not drinking enough water? You're drinking too much milk? Not a fan of milk, and it's not a fan of me. I understand. Like some people don't drink milk because it's very hard. Too much FOMO chat. I won't even mention how much milk my mother would buy for my brother and myself each week. See, that's proper. Sometimes milk will fight you, but I think that we can all agree that milk is delicious. I'll just say that. And not the kind that you get from nuts or coconuts. Although those are delicious in their own ways. Although I think that almond milk just tastes like wood, like somebody's put water in wood shavings and then squeezed it out into a cup. That's my opinion on almond milk. Cashew juice is... I would prefer cashews over almonds. Listen, Derry hates me, so I eat... Which is fair. That doesn't mean that it's not delicious. Just because it will assault you if you take it, doesn't mean that it's not delicious. That's all I'm saying. Alright. I'm gonna continue reading, alright? I don't want to get too far off on a tangent here. What kind of milk do you want? Preferably from a cow. Definitely not from a person, if you don't mind. There was a coffee shop that supposedly gave human milk as an option. I was like, something about that makes me uncomfortable. I know that seems counterintuitive since you're drinking animal milk, but something about just like some random Becky providing her milk to a coffee shop. See, it just makes me uncomfortable. I couldn't tell you why. Yeah. See, Brooke was surprised as well. Something about the idea of a random human stranger. I'm okay with a random strange cow for some reason, but a random human stranger works. Tavern milk works, but I like my beer. See, the lady likes herself a good stout. And I don't mind a good stout or a blonde, but the lady actually likes stouts better than I do. Yeah, Matty, if you wanted to simplify it, I would say just a feudal system is probably the simplest way to describe what you're talking about. Because feudal systems are when you have several powerful noble lords who either have military or money on their side, and then there's some sort of ruling authority, but it doesn't have absolute power over all of those things. It has absolute power, but not absolute power. I drink goat milk or soy milk when I drink milk. Goat milk is delicious, by the way. Goat milk is wonderful. Yeah, goat milk is absolutely wonderful. If you've never had goat milk before, I strongly recommend it. Okay, I asked because of the 12 houses era in my story. Feudal system is what usually develops naturally in a country when you have multiple powerful families or groups that are organized. That usually ends up resulting in a feudal sort of system. Japan, for a very long time, was a feudal system under an emperor. The emperor had absolute power, but the feudal lords were basically what controlled everything. And it was only if all of the feudal houses just suddenly decided we don't agree with the emperor anymore, and this happened several times, then the emperor was gone. And the emperor was usually sort of a proxy for the most powerful feudal families. Same thing happened in Europe. Europe, for a very long time, was more of a feudal... Western Europe was more of a feudal system. England, Wales, and so on were more feudal than they were monarchies. We like to think of Western Europe as having been under monarchies for a long time, but generally speaking, they were more feudal than they were monarchical, just because it wasn't an absolute power sort of system, as we like to think about it. What's a book that you haven't read to us that you want to? Ooh, that's a very good question. Actually, I would love to read you guys the Dragon Knight series because it's my personal favorite from my childhood, but we haven't read that one yet. The Dragon Knight series by I almost said Raymond D. Weiss, by Gordon R. Dixon is my favorite book from my childhood. It's the first book series that I discovered on my own. And I'm afraid that I'll read it because I haven't read it in years. I'm afraid I'll read it again. I won't like it as much. So I'm actually kind of worried about that. But I loved it when I read through it the first couple of times when I was very young. First time I read through it, I was in my teens. And the second time I read through it, I was in my 20s. So it's been probably 10 years since I read through the series. But Dragon Knight by Gordon R. Dixon is one of my favorites. Brand of goat milk I drink has a aftertaste of bananas. I don't know about other goat milk. That's interesting. Goat milk is good, but for some reason, goat cheese tastes the way goats smell. The lady likes stout wait until she gets some of mine. Well, when we come out to Australia, if we get on a book tour, if we end up doing a book tour, then we come out to Australia, you can buy the lady a drink, Bear. Or if some of your own stout, I guess. Just don't let the lady go blind. It'd be very difficult for me to bring a keg of stout to you. It would be, Bear. It would be. Transporting anything from Australia to the United States is ridiculously expensive. I like a good Guinness stout. Yeah, Guinness is good. Guinness in Ireland is better than Guinness anywhere else, but because it is a completely different experience, Guinness in Ireland versus Guinness anywhere else. That's why Old King Bear recommends your festivals book when he wants you to go on tour, right? Well, I don't think we could tour for the festivals book. It would be funny if we did a festivals tour, though. That would be amazing. Like, just go around and do one of the major festivals. Because there are 4 major Irish festivals. We did one of each of the 4 Irish festivals somewhere else in the world. And we do that as a part of our book tour. First Guinness I drank was in Shannon, Ireland. See, that's the place you go. It's never quite the same. Never quite the same. I'm currently reading A Court of Thorns and Roses series and rereading Harry Potter. The Court of Thorns and Roses is very popular. I don't, again, when I say these things, I don't ever mean to poo-poo on anybody's, what they think, things that they like. So little happens in A Court of Thorns and Roses. So little happens. I made it halfway through the book, and almost nothing had happened. And I don't typically read those kinds of books. I don't typically read romance books, so I don't know if that's standard for romantasy books. But good lord, almost nothing happens in the first half of it. I'm in Irish McCreary. I would love to go to an Irish festival. The plan, once we have the means within the tavern, is my family back home, my grandfather, I should say, not my whole family, but my grandfather, he hosts family festivals throughout the year, and we have 6 major festivals, and then occasionally we'll throw other ones depending on what's going on. But I wrote down our family's traditions into this book, and I used common language so that it would be a little bit more accessible, because while things like Lammas is not a festival that we recognize, but we do celebrate around that time of year for certain things. Litha is not a festival that we recognize, and it's not really a historical festival either. Same thing with a few of the others. But some of these we do celebrate, and when we get the ability to, the lady and I would like to host the major festivals throughout the year. And that's why we put this down, so that anybody who decides they want to come and celebrate with us, they'll already know how to do it. Goat milk just tastes like very creamy milk for me, Bethany. It's just like a very creamy milk. Yeah, we would love to host like a Lunasa festival, which is basically like the Highland Games but for Ireland. It's not standard castle. Don't take that as common, please. Wait, what? It's for romanticy books. Okay, thank you. I appreciate you for that. Yes, you can find the festival's book. You can get it on digital through Amazon or through or the tavern shop, whichever way you like. If you get it from the tavern shop, it comes directly from the lady and I. If you get it through Amazon, it goes through Amazon's print. The history of Samhain is a wonderful one. Oh, a court of thorns and roses. I appreciate you beating blasphemy. And if you order it directly from the shop, it comes from the lady and I. We put a little something extra in there when you do. Yours would count as middle fantasy romantasy, I would say, Matty. Is how I would put it, because a little bit of sci-fi in there, a little bit of a lot of romance, a lot of relationships, and a little bit of fantasy. So I would say BTA Kush King Gaming. That is a hell of a name you got there, my friend. Welcome in. So very glad you could join us. Settle down, fill your mug. We're in the midst of story time. I want to toss some cable. We do cable toss, we do stone throws, we do tree climbing, we do all sorts of things. All sorts of things. I don't typically tell you what. Put it in the notes, Katie, and I'll sign the book for you. I don't typically sign the books just because we sold a limited run of signed ones. But put it in the notes. I'll sign it for you. I appreciate all the love you're showing. So toss it in the notes, and I will sign the book for you. Just so I know, because when I don't always the lady handles the orders. So if it's not in the notes, she won't know to tell me to do it. I used to be able to climb a tree until I took an arrow to a knee. Oh, you'll have to do only ground games. Only ground games for you, Santana. All right. I'm gonna get back to reading. I promise. That's all right. I again just make sure you put it in the notes, and the lady will make sure to let me know, and we'll send it out to you as soon as it is available. And I appreciate all the love you're showing to the community. It is wonderful. All right, let's continue. My head will be down for about 20, maybe 30 minutes, friends. Then I'll pop back up. Do-do-do-do-do. Locklear laughed, the first happy sound in the palace in days. Then, as if he had sinned, he looked up guiltily. Jimmy stood. Done. Locklear handed him over the parchment. Finished. Good, said Jimmy. Come along. The Lacey will not show his usual forbearance if we're late. They hurried to where the squires were assembling. The usual jostling, play, and laughing whispers were absent, for the occasion was solemn. De Lacy arrived a few minutes after Jimmy and Locklear were in place, and without preamble. The roster. Jimmy gave it to him, and he glanced over it. Good. Though either your penmanship is improving, or you've acquired an assistant. There was a slight shuffle among the boys, but no open mirthfulness. Lacey said, I'm changing one assignment, though. Harold and Bryce will stand as coach attendants to Princess Alicia and Anita. James and Locklear will remain as assist the steward of the royal household here at the palace. Jimmy was stunned. He and Locklear would not be in the cortege to the gates. They would stand idly by in case there was some minor problem the steward judged required a squire's presence. De Lacy absently read the other assignments aloud, then dismissed the boys. Locklear and Jimmy exchanged glances, and Jimmy overtook the departing master of ceremonies. Sir, said Jimmy as he began. De Lacy turned to Jimmy. If it's about the assignment, there will be no debate. Jimmy's face flushed angrily. But I was the prince's squire, he answered hotly. In an unusually bold moment, Locklear blurted out, And I was squire to her highness. De Lacy looked at the younger boy in astonishment. Well, sort of, he amended. That is of no consequence, said De Lacy. I have my orders. You must follow yours. That will be all. Jimmy began to protest, but he was cut off by the old master. I said, that will be all, squire. Jimmy turned and began walking away. Locklear fell in beside him. I don't know what's going on here, said Jimmy, but I intend to find out. Come on. Jimmy and Locklear hurried along, glancing about. An order from a senior member of the court would prevent this unexpected visit. So they took pains to avoid the scrutiny of anyone likely to find work for them. The funeral cortege would depart the palace in less than 2 hours, so there would be ample tasks remaining for 2 squires. Once begun, there would be a slow parade through the city, a shop, a stop at the temple square where the public prayers would be said. Then the dark journey to Rillinon and the tomb of Arutha's ancestors. Once the funeral party was outside the city, the squires would return to the palace. But Jimmy and Locklear were being denied even that small part of the procession. Jimmy approached the princess's doors and said to the guard without, If her highness could spare a moment. The guard's eyebrows rose, but he was not in a position to question even a minor member of the court as a squire. So he would simply pass the message inside. As the guard pushed the door open, Jimmy thought he heard something out of place, a sound that ended before he could apprehend its nature. Jimmy tried to puzzle out what he had just heard, but the guard's return diverted his attention. A moment later, he and Locklear were admitted. Carline sat with Anita near a window, awaiting the summons to attend the funeral. Their heads were close together, and they were speaking softly. Princess Mother Alicia hovered at her daughter's shoulder. All 3 were dressed in black. Jimmy came and bowed, Locklear at his side. Sorry to intrude, highnesses, he said softly. Anita smiled at him. You're never an intrusion, Jimmy. What is it? Suddenly, feeling it was petty to be concerned over his exclusion from the funeral, Jimmy said. A small thing, actually. Someone ordered me to remain at the palace today, and I wondered, well, did you ask for me to be kept here? A glance passed from Carline to Anita, and the Princess of Krondor said, No, I didn't, Jimmy. Her tone was thoughtful. But perhaps Earl Volney did. You are a senior squire, and should stay at your office, or at least I'm sure that's what the Earl decided. Jimmy studied her expression. A discordant note was sounding here. Princess Anita had returned from her mother's estate, displaying the grief expected, but soon after there had been a subtle change in her. Further conversation was interrupted by a baby's cry, quickly followed by another. Anita rose. It's never just one of them, she said, with affection clearly showing. Carline smiled at that, then suddenly her expression turned somber. Jimmy said, We have intruded, highnesses. I'm sorry to have troubled you over such a petty matter. Locklear followed Jimmy outside, moving out of the guard's earshot. Jimmy said, Did I miss something in there, Lockie? Locklear turned and regarded the door for a moment. Something's odd. It's like we're being kept out of the way. Jimmy thought for a minute. He now understood what had arrested his attention outside the door. Just before they had been admitted, The sound that intruded had been the princess's voices, or rather, the quality of those voices. Chatty, lightly bantering. Jimmy said, I'm beginning to think that you're right. Come along. We don't have much time. Time for what? You'll see. Jimmy hurried off down the corridor, and the younger boy had to scramble to catch up. Godon and Volney were hurrying towards the courtyard, accompanied by 4 guards. When the boys intercepted them, the Earl hardly spared a glance as he said, Aren't you two supposed to be in the courtyard? No, sir, answered Jimmy. We've drawn Stow's duty. Godon seemed mildly surprised at that, but all Volney said was, Well, oh wait, this is Volney.
Well, I expect you should hurry along in case you're needed there. We must begin the procession.
Sir, said Jimmy, did you order us to remain? Volney waved off the question.
Duke Laurie has been attending to those details with Master de Lacy.
He turned his attention away from the boys as he and Godon walked off. Jimmy and Locklear halted as the Earl and Marshal vanished around the corner, the boot heels of their escorts clacking noisily on the stones. I think I'm beginning to understand, said Jimmy. He grabbed Locklear by the arm. Come on. With a half-frustrated note in his voice, Locklear said, Where? You'll see, came the answer, as Jimmy almost ran. Let's see, we have just under 10 pages left, friends.
Quite what?
Chipper. Happy.
Oh, don't you?
Well, the only reason why Bear hasn't got any signed copies is because it would cost $40 to send him a copy of a $6 book.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
Don't get me wrong, I do intend to send Bear a signed copy, but it'll be when I go to see him. Within the tavern halls, yes.
He comes here.
Or when he comes to see us, yeah, either way. Yeah, it's a lot. That's the only reason why Bear doesn't have a site, because he's had to order them all through Amazon. Yeah, if he buys them specifically from us, the overall cost. Yeah, we know you're joking, Milo. So here's the general deal, guys. When we're in story time, unless I'm specifically talking about something serious, it's safe to assume that we're all joking. I assume that everyone is being a sarcastic twat, like I am. That's all right. Yeah. I assume that we're all being just sarcastic little minges, to be fair. Let's be serious, right? Yeah, the shipping is awful from the US into Australia because the lady and I live in the south of the United States. Castle is the second. I get in so much trouble. The lady gets mad at me because I will say things jokingly, but because I'm so deadpan in the way that I say things, people take me seriously. I am almost never serious when I say things. Unless it is a serious conversation, like there's a preempt of a serious conversation, like somebody having passed away, and even then, I will sometimes break up tragedy with humor because it's what we do. So I always assume the best of whatever is being said of anybody here when we're all having conversations. Castle of Harutha is dead. No way he would exclude. Right, exactly. Excellent storytelling. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate you over on Facebook. Take it kindly, my friend. The tip is the tip. The tip. The the compliment is appreciated. So Porinita has to raise the twins alone. That is what is implied, Brooke. That is what is implied. So yeah, you guys don't. I would say don't worry about dancing around each other in the chat. Just assume everyone is joking if you're in here, because it's a tavern environment. We're all poking fun. We're all, having a good time. Don't be a twat for no reason. But it's all fair to say that we're joking. Serious the sarcastic ninja, precisely, Jonas, precisely. All right, head back down. Head back down. Locklear hurried after, mimicking, "You'll see, you'll see." "See what, damn it?" Two guards stood to post. One said, "And where are you gentlemen off to?" "Port Authority," said Jimmy testily, handing over a quickly penned order. "Steward can't find some shit manifest, and he's in a fury to get a copy." Jimmy had been about to investigate something and was rankled by the need to run this errand. It also seemed an odd time for the steward to become obsessed with the need for a manifest. The guard who had examined the paper said, "Just a minute." He signaled for another soldier near the guard officer's room by the main entrance to the palace. The guard hurried over, and the first sentry said, "Can you spare a bit of time to take these lads down to the port office and back? They need to fetch something for the steward." The guard looked indifferent. There and back would take less than an hour. He nodded, and the three were off. 20 minutes later, Jimmy stood in the Port Authority office, dealing with a minor functionary as everyone else was off to watch the cortege leave the city. The man grumbled as he thumbed through a stack of paperwork, looking for a copy of the last manifest of goods delivered to the royal docks. While he fumbled, Jimmy cast a glance at another paper hanging on the wall of the office for all to look at. It was this week's schedules of departures. Something caught his eye, and he crossed over to look. Locklear followed him. "What?" Jimmy pointed. "Interesting." Locklear looked at the notation and said, "Why? I'm not sure," answered Jimmy, pitching his voice lower. "But I think a minute about something of the things going on at the palace. We get held back from the procession. Then we ask the princess about it. We're out of her quarters in less than 10 minutes when we're sent on this errand. You tell me, does it seem like we're being kept out of the way? Something's odd." "That's what I said earlier," said Locklear impatiently. The clerk found and handed over the requested paper. The guard escorted the boys back to the palace. Running past the gate guards, Jimmy and Locklear waved absently, then headed towards the steward's office. Once inside the palace, they appeared at the office as the steward, Baron Giles, was leaving. "There you are," he said in accusatory tone. "I thought I was going to have to send the guards to ferret you out of wherever you were lazing away the day." Jimmy and Locklear exchanged glances. The steward seemed to have forgotten about the manifest entirely. Jimmy handed it to him. "What's this?" He examined the paper. "Oh, yes, it is," he remarked, tossing the paper upon his desk. "I'll deal with that later. I must be off to see the procession depart the palace. You will stay here. Should any emergency arise, one of you will remain in this office while the other will come to find me. Once the bear has left the gates, I will return." "Do you anticipate any problems, sir?" asked Jimmy. Walking past the boys, the steward said, "Course not. But it always pays to be prepared. I shall return in a short time." After he left, Locklear turned to face Jimmy. "All right, what's going on? And don't you dare say you'll see. Things are not what they seem to be. Come on." Jimmy and Locklear dashed up the stairs, reaching a window overlooking the court. They quietly observed the preparations below. The funeral procession was assembling. The rolling bier was moving to place, escorted by a hand-picked company of Arutha's household guard. It was pulled by a matched set of black horses, each bedecked with black plumes and hand-led by a groom dressed in black. The soldiers fell in on each side of the bier.
A group of 8 men-at-arms came with them within the palace, bearing the casket containing Ruther. They moved into a rolling scaffolding that allowed them to raise the casket high atop the bier. Slowly, almost reverently, they hoisted the Prince of Krondor up onto the black-shrouded structure. Jimmy and Locklear looked down into the casket, and, for the first time, could clearly see the prince. Tradition held the procession should move out with the casket open, so the populace could behold their ruler one last time. It would be closed outside the city gates, never to be opened again, save once more in the privacy of the family vault below the king's palace in Rillanon, where Arutha's family would bid him a final farewell. Jimmy felt his throat tightening. He swallowed hard, moving the stubborn lump. He saw Arutha had been laid out in his favorite garb, his brown velvet tunic, his russet leggings, a green jerkin had been added, though he had rarely worn such. His favorite rapier was clasped between his hands, and his head remained uncovered. He seemed asleep. As he was moved out of view, Jimmy noticed the fine satin lounging slippers on the prince's feet. Then a groom came forward, leading Arutha's horse, which would follow behind the bier riderless. It was a magnificent grey stallion, which tossed his head high and struggled against the groom. Another ran out, and between the two of them, they managed to quiet the fractious mount. Jimmy's eyes narrowed. Locklear turned in time and noticed the odd expression. What? Damn me. Something's odd. Come on. I want to say a thing or two. Where? But Jimmy was off, merely saying, Hurry. We only have a few minutes. As he ran down the stairs, Locklear chased after, groaning silently. Arutha was indeed wearing slippers. Satin lounging slippers on his feet. Jimmy hid in the shadow near the stable. Look, he said as he pushed Locklear forward. Locklear made a show strolling past the stable entrance as the last of the honor guard's mounts were being led out. Nearly the entire garrison would be walking behind the prince's bier. But once outside the city, the full company of the royal lancers would act as an escort all the way to Salador. Hey, you boy! What's what you're about? Locklear had to jump aside as a groom ran from the stable between two horses, holding their bridles. He had almost run Locklear down. Locklear ambled back and ducked around the corner beside Jimmy. I don't know what you expect to find, but no, it's not there. That's what I expected to find. Come on, ordered Jimmy as he dashed back towards the central palace. Where? You'll see. Locklear stared daggers into Jimmy's back as they ran across the marshalling yard. Don't you hate that, though? When people do that to you, it's like, oh, don't worry about it, you'll see. You'll see. Thank you, Matt, I appreciate you, my friend. Oh, lives on Dory Lane? Guys, no serious question. Do you know the Muffin Man? I do not know the Muffin Man. I knew the Muffin Man's cousin, who frequented the tavern. The Muffin Man is very busy making muffins. Rarely ever gets out. But I was definitely well familiar with a cousin of them, or claimed to be a cousin of the Muffin Man, who lived just around the corner from Dory Lane. The Muffin Man does indeed not live on Tottenham Court Road. He used to have an establishment there, but then later. No, his cousin is a butcher, as a matter of fact.
who is not, by the way, the baker is not the muffin man. You have the muffin man, the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker, all different people. Is that the guy?
Yeah.
The famous guy?
Yeah. The ongoing joke. And even Santana made the joke earlier.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know, Bethany. We don't know. His in-laws are the cobblers, yes, indeed. Descendants of elves, I've been told. Well, I don't know. There was a horse that ran out, and that was it. That was all we know from that, which is why I need to continue reading and stop being distracted by you guys' silly banter. Oh, we're in the midst of an ad. Never mind. I'll stop for a second. So that our friends over on Twitch don't get left out of the stories. Let's see. We've got 7 pages left. And I'm fascinated to see what happens. I think I have an idea of where this is going. But again, I don't want to ruin it. My God, my landlord came over to my door and went, "Are you okay? You sound like you're dying in there. Are you laughing a bit too much? Laughing a bit too much, Matty? It's alright, it happens. It happens." So, the lady and I are in the process of writing a young adult series that is based around Grimm's fairy tales, sort of like Goosebumps meets Grimm's fairy tales. I don't know how good it's going to be, so don't get your hopes up. But the first book in the series actually deals with the gingerbread man. And tears laughing so hard. We'll call it muffins. I'm sure he was the candlestick maker's wife, though. You guys are absolutely ludicrous. They don't. They don't. That only lasted 2 whole chapters. Like Bear said, she's not. Oh, it is getting late. I need to power through this chapter. Katie, thank you kindly for the sub. I appreciate you for that. Enjoy your Green Man's drought there. Tips to the tavern keeper always appreciated. Thank you so much. Thank you kindly. I'm sure he's making the cops sure I don't have to do an autopsy. Thank you kindly. Katie, I appreciate you for that. Thank you so much. Tips to the tavern keeper are always. That was. Wait, was it? Oh, Bear, thank you for the gift and something. Thank you, Bear. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you kindly. Can't wait to hear about your all news. Well, we started it last year, Esther. We started writing it, and then I got caught up in other things. But that's one of the series that I hope to have at least ready by the end of the year. As well as our children's book, which is wonderful. And then we're doing the Twisted Fate series as well. So we're working on 3 at the moment. I'm excited about all of them. But Bear, thank you kindly for gifting a sub to Katie, and thank you kindly for the tips to the Tavern Keeper, brother. Appreciate you. And Katie, enjoy your free sub there from the Bear. He's decided to buy you around for the night. Thank you so much. And I appreciate all of you pointing that out. I didn't see the gifted notification pop up. It just popped up as a sub, so I appreciate you for that. Thank you, guys. Keeping me in line, making sure I pay due when it's proper. It's deeply appreciated, brother. Thank you very much. And Katie, please do enjoy yourself. Bear brought you around. All right, answer over. Let's continue, friends. Uh, Jimmy and Locklear dashed up the stairs, taking 2 steps at a time. Reaching the window overlooking the courtyard, they gasped for breath. The run to and from the stable had taken 10 minutes, and the cortege was about to leave the palace. Jimmy watched closely. Carriages rolled up to the steps of the palace, and pages ran forward to hold open doors. By tradition, only the royal family, blood and marriage would ride. All others would walk behind the Ruther's bier as a sign of respect. Princess Anita and Alicia walked down and entered the first carriage, while Carline and Laurie hurried to the second, the Duke nearly skipping as he was walking so fast. He almost leapt into the carriage after Carline, rapidly pulling the curtains over the windows on his side. Jimmy regarded Locklear, who stood with an open expression of curiosity on his face over Laurie's behavior. Seeing no need to comment to the other youngster, Jimmy remained silent. Gadon took his place before the procession. His shoulders hung with his heavy black mantle. He signaled. A single drummer began the slow tattoo upon a muffled drum. Without spoken word, the procession set out in a fourth beat of the drum. The soldiers moved in silent lockstep, while the carriages rolled forward. Suddenly, the grey stallion bucked, and an extra groom again had to hold the animal in place. Jimmy shook his head. He had an old, familiar feeling. All the pieces of some odd puzzle were about to fall into place. Then slowly, a smile of understanding spread across his face. Locklear observed his friend's changed expression. What? Now I know what Laurie's been up to. I know what's going on. With a friendly slap on Locklear's shoulder, he said, Come on, we've got a lot to do and little time to do it. Is it hot where you are at, Martin? It's finally started to cool off out here. Thought I might sneak it through while your head was down. Why do you dislike pineapple so much? I don't actually dislike pineapple too much. I dislike pineapple with cheese because it is an abomination of a combination of ingredients. But pineapple itself, it can be good. Like you can have pineapple that is very good with many, many, many things. But putting pineapple on cheese, it literally curdles the cheese while it's on it. So I don't care for. Sun's melting, sweat burns, hurts my eyes. Just try to stay cool, brothers. Try to stay cool. Waffling again. I know I'm getting back to it, I promise. Jimmy led not there. Okay. Jimmy led Locklear through a secret tunnel. The guttering torch sending flickering shadows dancing in every direction. Both squires were dressed for travel and carried weapons, packs, and bedrolls. You sure they'll not have someone at the exit? Said Locklear for the 5th time. Impatiently, Jimmy said, I told you, this is the one exit I never showed anyone, not even the Prince or Laurie. As if trying to explain away his transgression of a mission, he added, Some old habits are harder to break than others. They had gone out about their duties all afternoon after the squires had all retired. They had stolen away to where they could hastily stash their travel packs. Now it was close to midnight. Reaching a stone door, Jimmy pulled a lever, and they both heard it click. Jimmy put out the torch and put his shoulders to the door. After several hard shoves, the protesting door moved. Age having made it reluctant, they crawled through a small door disguised as stonework. It was at the base of the wall beyond the prince's marshalling yard. On the side of the street closest to the palace, less than half a block up the street, stood the postern gate, and its attendant sentries. Jimmy tried to push the door shut, but it refused to budge. He signaled to Locklear, and the younger boys shoved in concert. It held, then, from the sudden release, slammed shut with an audible crash. From up the gate came an inquiring voice. "Hey now, who's out there? Stand to be identified." Without hesitation, Jimmy was off. Locklear a half step behind. Neither boy looked back to see if chase was being offered, but they kept their heads down as they dashed along the cobbles. Soon they were lost in the warden streets between the poor quarters and the docks. Jimmy halted to gain his bearings, then pointed. "That way. We've got to hurry. The Raven leaves on the midnight tide." Both boys hurried through the night. Soon they were passing shuttered buildings near the waterfront. From the docks came the sound of men shouting their orders as a ship made ready to depart. "It's pulling out," yelled Locklear. Jimmy didn't answer, only picking up his pace. Both squires reached the end of the dock as the last line was cast off, and with desperate leaps they reached the side of the ship as it was moved from the quay. Rough hands pulling them over, in a moment they stood upon the deck.
"And now, what's this?"
Came an inquiring voice a moment later. Aaron Cook stood before them.
"Well then, Jimmy the Hand, are you so anxious for a sea voyage you'd break your neck to come aboard?"
Jimmy grinned. "Hello, Aaron. I need to speak to Hull." The pock-faced man scowled at the squires.
"That's Captain Hull. To any aboard the Royal Raven? Princess Squire or not, I'll see if the captain has a moment."
Shortly, the squires stood before the captain, who fixed them with baleful expressions as he studied them with his one good eye.
"Deserted your post, eh?"
"Trevor," Jimmy began. But as Cook scowled, he amended. "Captain, we need to travel to South, and we saw the ship's list in the Port Authority. You're beginning your northward patrol tonight."
"Well, now, you may think you need to travel up the coast, Jimmy the Hand, but you've not rank enough to come aboard my ship with no more than a by your leave, and you didn't even have that. And despite the public notice, for the benefit of spies, you should know, my course is westerly, where I've Durban slave runners reported lying at sea, ambush the hapless kingdom traders. And there's always quaking galleys nosing about. No, you'll be ashore with a pilot once we've cleared the outer breakwater. Unless you better reason than simply wanting free transportation."
The former smuggler's expression revealed that while he might feel affection for Jimmy, he'd brooked no nonsense aboard this ship. Jimmy said, "If I might have a word with you in private." Hull exchanged glances with Cook, then shrugged. Jimmy spent a full 5 minutes whispering with the old captain. Then suddenly Hull laughed, a genuinely amused look.
"I'll be scuppered."
A moment later, he approached Aaron Cook.
"Have these lads taken below? As soon as we clear harbour, I want full sail. Make course for South."
Cook hesitated a minute, then turned to a sailor and ordered him to take the boys below. When they were gone, the harbour pilot over the side in his longboat, the first mate called all hands aloft and ordered all sails set, and set a northern course. He cast a glance rearward, where Captain Hull stood next to the helmsman, but the captain only smiled to himself. Jimmy and Locklear stood at rail's edge, waiting. When the boat was ready, they boarded. Trevor Hull came to stand beside them.
"Sure you don't want to put back to South?"
Jimmy shook his head. "I'd rather not be seen arriving aboard a Royal Customs ship. Attracts too much notice. Besides, there's a village near here where we can buy horses. There's a good place not a day's ride behind. where there will all be cut last time. We can watch any who pass. It'll be easier to spot them there.
As long as they haven't passed already.
They only left the day before we did, and we sailed every night while they heads to sleep. We're in front of them.
Well then, young lads, I wish you the protection of Killian, who in her kind of moments watches over sailors, another reckless horse, and a Bernard, who does the same for thieves, gamblers, and fools.
In a more serious tones, he said.
Take care, boys.
Then he signalled for the boat lowered. It was still gloomy, and the coast fog had not been pierced yet by the sun. The long boat was turned towards the beach, and the rowers pulled hard. Swiftly they headed in until the bow of the longboat scraped the sand, and Jimmy and Locklear were ashore. The innkeeper hadn't wished to sell his horses at first, but Jimmy's serious attitude, his posture of authority, and the way he wore his sword, coupled with ample gold, changed his mind. By the time the sun had cleared the forests to the east of the village long road, the two young men were mounted, well provisioned, and on their way up the road between South and Quester's View. By midday, they were in place, at a narrow point in the road to the east of an upthrust of land covered with heavy undergrowth prevented anyone from passing, while to the west the land dropped away quickly to the beach. From that vantage point, Jimmy and Locklear could see any travellers coming up the road or up the beach. They built a small fire against the damp and settled to wait. Twice in 3 days that followed, they had been menaced. The first time had been by a band of unemployed bravos, mercenary guards, on their way south from Questor's View. But that band had been discouraged by the determination of the two young men, and probability that they had nothing to steal besides the 2 horses. One man tried to take a horse, but Jimmy's speed with a rapier dissuaded him. They left rather than spill blood over such trivial booty. The second encounter had been considerably riskier, as both youngsters had stood side by side with weapons drawn, protecting their horses from 3 disreputable-looking bandits. Had the road's agents had more numbers, Jimmy was certain the youths would have been killed, but the men had fled at the sound of the approaching riders, which turned into a small patrol from the garrison from Quester's View. The soldiers had questioned Jimmy and Locklear and accepted their tale. They were travelling sons of a minor squire who was due to meet them soon at this location. The boys and their father would then continue south to Crondor to follow after the prince's funeral procession. The sergeant in charge of the patrol had wished them safe passage. Late in the afternoon, the 4th day, after arriving, Jimmy spotted 3 riders coming down the beach. He watched for a long moment, then said, "There they are!" Jimmy and Locklear quickly mounted and rode down the gap in the cliff to the beach, and they halted their mounts, pawing the sun, and waited for the riders to approach. Good night for real this time. All right. Good night, Milu. Rest well. May you rise tomorrow ready to conquer the day. He's sending the local even more loopy. Who needs TV? Fair enough, Martin. Fair enough. All right. Haven't missed anything. Thank you for the water, Bear. I appreciate you, brother. Let's see. The 3 riders came into view, slowed, and then approached warily. They looked tired and dirty, most likely mercenaries from their weapons and all. All wore beards, though the 2 dark-haired men were short and newly growing. The first rider swore an oath at the sight of the 2 youngsters, and the second shook his head in disbelief. The 3rd rider edged his horse past the first 2 and came to a halt before the boys. "How did you—" Locklear sat with his mouth open in stunned silence. In everything Jimmy had told him, this was the one thing the senior squire had not mentioned. Jimmy grinned. It's a bit of a story. We've a little camp up on the headland if you want to rest. Though it's by the road. The man scratched his 2-week-old beard. Might as well. There's little point travelling much more today. Jimmy's grin broadened. I must say, you're the liveliest looking corpse I've ever seen. And I've seen a few. Arutha returned the grin, turning to Laurie and Rold, where he said, Come on, let's rest the horses and find out how the young rogues figured us out. The fire seemed to burn cheerfully as the sun disappeared over the ocean. They lay around the campfire, except for Rold, who stood with a view of the road. There was a lot of little things, said Jimmy. The princesses both seemed more worried than grief-stricken. When we were kept away from the cortege, I became suspicious. Locklear added, It was something I said. Jimmy shot Locklear a hard glance, indicating it was his story. Yes, it was. He mentioned we were being kept away. Now I know why. I'd have tumbled into your bogus duke in the carriage in a minute. Then I'd have known he was heading to the north to finish with Myrmandamus, Laurie said. Which is why you were kept away, Rold added. Which was the whole idea. Jimmy looked stung. You could have trusted me. Arutha looked caught halfway between amusement and irritation. It wasn't an issue of trust, Jimmy. I didn't want this. I didn't want you along. With a mock groan, he said, Now I've two of you. Locklear looked at Jimmy with an expression of concern, but Jimmy's tone put him at ease. Well, even princes have the occasional lapse of judgment. Just remember what sort of fix you'd have been in if I hadn't sussed out the trap up at Mora Lane. Arutha nodded in surrender. You know something strange was going on, and you figured out Laurie and Rold were going north, but what gave it away that I was still alive? Jimmy laughed. First, the grey stallion was used in the procession, and your sorrel was missing from the stable. You've never liked the grey, I remember you saying. Arutha nodded. He's too fractious. What else? It hit me while we watched the body go past. If you were going to be buried in your favourite togs, you'd have your favourite boots on. He pointed to the pair the prince wore. But there were only slippers on his feet. That's because the boots the assassin wore into the palace were covered in sewer muck and blood. Most likely whoever dressed the body went looking for another pair rather than clean the assassin's boots and couldn't find any. Or they didn't fit, so they just put slippers on. When I saw that, I figured it out. You didn't have the assassin's body burned, only the heart. Nathan must have put a spell on it to keep it fresh. I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but... Oh, wait here. I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but I thought it might come in useful. Then we had to attempt in the temple. That assassin's dagger was no sham. He absently rubbed his sore side. But it was not a serious wound. Laurie said, Ha! Another inch higher, and 2 to the right, and he'd have had a real enough funeral after all. We kept things at a low boil the first night, Nathan, Gardon, Volney, Laurie, and I, while we figured out what to do, Arutha said. I decided to play dead. Volney held up the funeral procession until the local nobles arrived, which gave me time to heal enough to ride. I wanted to slip out of this city without anyone being the wiser. If Myrmandamus thinks me dead, he'll stop looking for me. With this, he held about the talisman given to him by the Ashapian abbot. He'll not find me by magic means. I'm hoping to make him act prematurely. Laurie said, How'd you boys get here? You couldn't have passed us along the road. I got Trevor Holt to bring us here, replied Jimmy. Arutha said, You told him? But only him, not even Cook knows you're alive, Rold said.
Still, too damn many for a secret,
Locklear said. But, I mean, everyone knows. Everyone who knows can be trusted, sir. That's not the issue, said Laurie. Caroline and Anita knew, but Gardan, Volley, and Nathan. As did Gardan, Volley, and Nathan, but even DeLacy and Valdis were kept ignorant. The king won't know until Caroline tells him in private, which will happen when they reach Rillanon. Only those know. What of Martin? Laurie sent a message to him. He'll meet us in Ilth. Oh, that was not Laurie. Laurie sent him a message. He'll meet us in Ilth, answered Ruther. That's risky, said Jimmy. Laurie said. No one but a few of us could understand the message. All it said was, the Northerner. Come fastest. It was signed Arthur. He'll understand no one is to know Arutha lives. Jimmy revealed his appreciation. Only those of us here know the Northerner is the inn in youth where Martin wrestled with that Longley character. Who's Arthur? Asked Locklear.
His Highness, said Rold. It's the name he used when he last travelled.
I used it when I came to Crondor with Martin and Amos. Jimmy got a thoughtful look. This is the second time we rode north, and the second time I wish Amos Trask was with us, Arutha said. Well, he is not. Let's turn in. We've a long ride ahead, and I must decide what to do with the two young rogues. Jimmy wrapped his bedroll around him, as did the others, while Rold maintained the first watch. Then, for the first time in weeks, Jimmy dropped quickly off to sleep, free of grief. And so ends Chapter 6 of A Darkness at Sethanon. Heather, hello, welcome in. So very glad that you could join us. Welcome. I'm so glad so many of you decided to spend the evening with us. It was wonderful to have you all. All right. I have my buddy join. His name is Jordan, or Faban. Jordan, welcome in, wherever you are. So very glad that you joined us. I didn't see any notifications pop up, but that's just fine. I'm glad that you made it in anyways. I was just finally getting comfortable, relaxing, and starting to nod off when you said suddenly, end of chapter, that caught me off guard. That was really sloppy of them to use his slippers. Absolutely. Arutha wouldn't wear slippers. Master Castle, why do you dislike pineapple so much? I don't dislike pineapple. I dislike pineapple combined with cheese. That is it. Thank you for the bedtime story, Matt. Always my pleasure. Absolutely, always my privilege. I'm glad you joined us. I'm glad you enjoyed. For everyone who is new, again, I am Castle. This is my tavern. And here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore. And every now and again, I read you all a bedtime story or just a regular story. Because for some of you, it's in the mid-afternoon. And here, this is a tavern at the end of the world where all stories eventually come to rest. And you found your way in here because you sought a story. Now let's get 2 songs. We're going to do 2 songs for the evening. And then I will send you all off into the world. If you are with us on the Twitch portal, we'll raid one of our friends to share the love. And otherwise, I appreciate your time and skill storytelling. Thank you for sharing your time and story. Absolutely my pleasure, Wes. I'm glad you enjoyed. I'm glad that this small thing that I can do brings so much joy and respite to all of you all the time. Irish pub, please, Castle. We can do the Irish pub song, sure enough. I'd be happy to. I'm glad I'm only 9 chapters from finishing my second book, then edits. Should be good fun, Matty. He's trying to get any yard work done with the wind and rain. Yeah, fair enough. Oh, and Martin wanted My Mother Told Me. That's correct. We've got it. My Mother Told Me and uh, Irish pub song. Those will be the ones we do. I'm going to shuffle off so I can get some much needed rest. A pleasure as always, Castle Frost. Thank you for tending bar, my friend. Rest well. And I hope that you get all that you need done tomorrow done. And that it all comes with ease. Pineapple cheese, flashback to Grandma's kitchen shutter. Yeah, the only reason pineapple has its places. I personally don't enjoy pineapple because it hurts my mouth. But yes, I don't greatly enjoy pineapple. But pineapple has its places. It's good as a marinade, it's good in sauces, it's good with other juices, but I just don't care for it on pizza. Thank you for the fantastic story tonight, Castle. Even though I missed part of it here and there, I truly enjoyed it. Always a pleasure to have you, Esther. I'm glad that you enjoyed your time, and I hope that you, Johnny, and Elsie have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday afternoon. Yeah, we can do Valhalla Calling too. Let's do that. We'll scare everyone off with Valhalla Calling last. Let's start with, for our good friend Martin, we're going to do My Mother Told Me, then we'll do the Irish pub song, and then we'll do Valhalla Calling. My throat is feeling a little bit worn out, but I think we should be able to manage all of it. All right, Esther, sounds good. So grateful to have the tavern during these times. Thank you for the stories and the songs. Absolutely always my pleasure, Molly. I'm glad you enjoy your time here. I'm glad so many of you do. Let's do My Mother Told Me first. Best storyteller is Cal. You flatter me deeply, Esther. You flatter me. All right, here we go. My mother told me someday I will buy galley with good oars, sail to distant shores. My mother told me someday I will buy galleys with good oars, sail to distant shores. Stand up high in the prow, noble bark I steer, steady course to the haven. Hew many foemen, hew many foemen. My mother told me someday I would buy galleys with good oars, sail to distant shores. My mother told me someday I will buy galley with good oars, sail to distant shores. Stand up high in the prow, noble bark I steer, steady course to the haven. Hew many foemen, hew many foemen. Only if you are 90% sure your worn out voice will be fine. Remember what happened last time we pushed too hard. I will be absolutely certain not to push myself too far. I feel like I might be getting sick. Like I have a little bit of swelling in my sinuses. But I'll make sure that I don't go too hard. Oh, good news. I've got the Nuclear V storyline planned out. That's wonderful news, Heather. Absolutely wonderful. All right. Now we're gonna do Irish pub song, a little bit more upbeat, a little bit more upbeat. I'm not gonna hear you say other than that. Always a pleasure, Esther. Always a pleasure. If you know the words, join me, friends. While you're walking through a city street, you could be in Peru, and you hear a distant calling, and you know it's meant for you. But you drop what you're doing, and you join the merry mob, and before you know just where you are, you're in an Irish pub. They got one in Honolulu, they got one in Moscow too. They got 4 of them in Sydney and a couple in Kathmandu. So whether you sing or pull a pint, you'll always have a job, 'cause wherever you go around the world, you find an Irish pub. Now the design is fairly simple, and it usually works the same. You'll have Razorheart and scoring in the Ireland-England game. And you'll know you're in an Irish pub the minute you're in the door, for a couple of boys with Borans who'll be murdering Christy Moore. They got one in Honolulu, they got one in Moscow too. They got 4 of them in Sydney and a couple in Kathmandu. So whether you sing or pull a pint, you'll always have a job, 'cause wherever you go around the world, you find an Irish pub. Now the owner is Norwegian, and the manager comes from Cork. And the lad who's holding up the bar says only just work. He was born and bred in Bolton, but his mummy's from Kildare. And he's going to make his fortune soon and move to County Clare. County Clare is gorgeous, by the way. They've got one in Honolulu, they've got one in Moscow too. They got 4 of them in Sydney and a couple in Kathmandu. And whether you sing or pull a pint, you'll always have a job, 'cause wherever you go around the world, you find an Irish pub. Now it's time for me to go, I have to catch my train. So leave your Sutton at the bar to face the wind and rain. For I have that pint you owe me, if I'm not gone on the dry. And we'll meet next week in Frankfurt in the fields of Athenry. They've got one in Honolulu, they've got one in Moscow too. They got 4 of them in Sydney and a couple in Kathmandu. So whether you sing or pull a pint, you'll always have a job, 'cause wherever you go around the world, you find an Irish pub. They got one in Honolulu, they've got one in Moscow too. They got 4 of them in Sydney and a couple in Kathmandu. So whether you sing or pull a pint, you'll always have a job, 'cause wherever you go around the world, you find an Irish pub. Oh, wherever you go around the world, you find an Irish pub. I really enjoy the way Casa sings Irish pub, and be sure to check out the others later. Thanks a lot, Bears. Have a good night, Esther. Rest well. Snort some eucalyptus oil castle. That should sort your sinuses out. I will probably do a steam bowl a little bit later. Thank you kindly, Esther. Thank you kindly. The compliments are appreciated. All right. Let's do Valhalla Calling. Now, for any of you who have never been in here for our rendition of Valhalla Calling is a very popular song. It got very popular over on TikTok. It's by a gentleman who goes by Miracle of Sound. It is sort of like a Viking shanty. Hezelind, thank you so much for your love tonight. I hope glad you enjoyed, or I hope you enjoyed your time with us. And we'll look forward to seeing you back again. We'll do more story time on Thursday. Thank you for being here, and rest well. Bethany, have a good night. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. And to anyone who is sticking around over on Twitch, we'll raid out to share the love. Valhalla Calling, again, it's a sort of like a Viking shanty song. Now, the way we sing it is a little bit different. We sing the verses normally, but then when we get to the chorus, we do what is called druid singing or throat singing, and it can be a little bit grating for some folk. Some folk find it to be wonderful, and some find it to be a little bit annoying. It has been known to cause rupturing of blood vessels in the eyes. It has been known to disrupt the lymphatic system as well as the nervous system, as well as the vascular system. It has been known to cause random headaches, to cause phasing from one realm to another. It has also been known to cause spontaneous pregnancy and spontaneous combustion. So if any of these things do occur to you, the tavern cannot be held liable. You have been warned, listening is consent to any of the potential side effects of having heard this song sung here in the tavern. All right, friends. And we begin. Ships on the vigor of the waves are skimming, bearing summits to the verdant plains. Each horizon is a new beginning. Rise and reign. Far from the fjords and the ice cold currents, ravens soar over new frontiers. Songs and sagas of a fate determined, shields and spears. Vows of favor or the thrill of plunder, pulled together for the clan and kin. Clank of hammer and the crash of thunder, pound within. You want to plug your ears here? Oh, the echoes of eternity. Oh, Valhalla calling me. Oh, to pluck the strings of destiny. Oh, Valhalla calling me. Valhalla calling me. Sails are swaying on the crimson rivers, blood and glory in the fighting fields. Shields are shattered into splintered timbers, iron and steel. Fires are rising and the bells are ringing. Glory, take us into Odin's halls. Golden glimmer and the sound of singing as God's call. Oh, the echoes of eternity. Oh, Valhalla calling me. Oh, to pluck the strings of destiny. Oh, Valhalla calling me. Valhalla calling me. Wind and the waves will carry me. Wind and the waves will set me free. Wind and the waves will carry me. Wind and the waves will set me free. Oh, the echoes of eternity. Oh, Valhalla calling me. Oh, to pluck the strings of destiny. Oh, Valhalla calling me. Valhalla calling me. Thank you for the song, my friends. See, look, Jonas ended up pregnant. It happens. These things, they just occur. There's not much you can do. Just curious, is it possible to make a character introduced in the last act have an emotional, impactful death at the climax? Sure. It'd have to be very skillful writing, Matty, but sure. I really love the throat singing you perform. Your rendition of Valhalla calling is fantastic. Well done, Castle. Thank you again. Always my pleasure, Esther. Always my pleasure. Oh, I've been sitting for too long. Oh. All right, my friends, this is where we end for the night. To all of our new friends, we're so glad that you came and spent the evening with us. If we never see you again, know that it was a pleasure to have you here at the tavern at the end of the world. But if we do see you again and you become regulars, know that we will be happy to have you and there will be a seat for you every single time. But now is where we must part, my friends, and parting is such sweet sorrow, but we will return the very next time that you all seek a story. So until then, my friends, I will thank you all for your generosity, to everyone who tipped the tavern keeper, for your attention to everyone who stayed and watched, and for your sharing of the tavern with anyone, and for the liking that you do when my head is down. Wishing you a wonderful night, Castle, sleep well and dream big. Thank you, Esther, you as well. Good night, my Freundin, good nacht. Good night, Matty. And to all of you, I bid you rest well. And we will see you again the very next time that we gather all here in the tavern. So until then, stay bloodthirsty, my friends, and we will see you next time.